Oregon, a land of towering forests, misty coastlines, and hauntingly beautiful landscapes, holds more than just natural wonders. Beneath its scenic beauty lies a hidden world of terror and mystery. From abandoned hospitals to haunted lighthouses, Oregon is home to some of the most haunted places in America. For thrill seekers and ghost hunters, these sites offer chilling encounters with the paranormal. Tonight, we explore 25 of Oregon's most haunted locations, uncovering their dark histories, terrifying legends, and spine-chilling true stories. If you're planning a trip, beware. Some doors, once opened, should never be crossed. Beneath the modern bustle of Portland, Oregon, hidden from the sunlight and muffled by the noise of traffic, lies a sinister world of tunnels and passageways that stretch 4 blocks beneath the city. Known as the Shanghai Tunnels, these underground corridors were originally constructed to move goods from the docks along the Willamette River directly to basements of businesses, bars, and hotels. But as the years went by, these tunnels developed a darker purpose, and their legacy grew into one of fear, cruelty, and paranormal terror. Today, they are remembered less for commerce and more for the stories of human suffering that seem to linger in their suffocating air. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Portland was one of the roughest port cities on the West Coast. Sailors, loggers, and immigrants mingled with locals in saloons, gambling dens, and opium parlors. Beneath this thriving nightlife, a sinister practice thrived, Shanghai. By the time they awoke from their stupor, it was too late. They were trapped aboard vessels, signed into service they never agreed to, and left with no choice but to work or die. The Shanghai tunnels became the perfect hunting ground for this cruel trade. Trapdoors were installed in bars and taverns, dropping unsuspecting victims directly into the tunnels below. Once underground, these men were held in makeshift cells until they could be moved to the waterfront. Many were dragged through the dim corridors, shackled, and beaten into submission. Those who disappeared into the tunnels often left no trace behind, their families never knowing their fate. The damp, suffocating air of the tunnels still carries that history. The bricks are coated with grime, the earth smells of mold, and the walls echo with a silence so heavy it feels alive. Even long after Shanghai fell out of practice, rumors persisted of other illegal activities: gambling, opium dens, and human trafficking. The tunnels became a space of secrets and whispers, where the suffering of the forgotten seemed to soak into the walls themselves. Paranormal investigators and thrill seekers who dare to explore the Shanghai tunnels often describe a sense of dread that settles over them as soon as they step inside. Cold spots appear without warning, even on warm summer days. Some visitors feel as though the air is being sucked from their lungs, as if the tunnels themselves resent their presence. Shadows flit at the edge of vision, only to vanish when one turns to look directly at them. Many describe the overwhelming impression of being followed, even when alone, and more than a few have felt an icy hand grip their shoulder, only to find no one behind them. Disembodied whispers echo faintly through the darkness, sometimes calling out names, sometimes muttering words too faint to distinguish. A few investigators have reported hearing the dragging sound of chains, as though the spirits of imprisoned men still shuffle through the passages, condemned to walk an endless path beneath the city. Others claim to hear sudden, blood-curdling screams erupt from the darkness, so loud and vivid that they expect to see someone running toward them only to realize the tunnels are empty. One particularly chilling account comes from a local guide who has spent years leading tours through the tunnels. On several occasions, she has reported seeing the figure of a man in sailor-esque clothing standing at the far end of a corridor. His features are blurred, his expression unreadable, but his presence is undeniable. When she approaches, the figure fades into the shadows, leaving only the oppressive silence behind. Guests have corroborated her claims, gasping at the sudden appearance of a shadowy figure, only to watch it dissolve like smoke. Another story tells of a group of investigators who set up equipment in one of the known holding cells used for Shanghai victims. They left a recorder running overnight, and when they played it back, they were horrified to hear muffled voices begging for help, the clinking of chains, and the sound of heavy footsteps pacing back and forth. No one had been in the tunnels at the time. The chilling evidence only deepened their belief that the tortured souls of the kidnapped men still linger, forever trapped in the place of their suffering. Not all the apparitions are said to be male. Some stories speak of women victims of trafficking or of violent encounters in the city, as seedy prostitutes' spirits remain restless. One common tale describes a woman in a torn dress, her face pale and expression filled with despair, wandering the tunnels as though searching for an escape. When witnesses attempt to follow her, she turns a corner and vanishes, leaving behind only the sound of faint sobbing that fades into the silence. Today, portions of the Shanghai tunnels are open for guided tours, drawing tourists and paranormal enthusiasts from around the world. Many who venture inside leave shaken, convinced they experienced something beyond explanation. For some, it's a brush against the arm when no one is nearby. For others, it's the overwhelming sense of fear that grips them and refuses to let go until they reach daylight again. While the tunnels have been sanitized and preserved for history, no amount of renovation can erase the weight of what happened there. Beneath the busy streets of Portland, life goes on. Cars honk, pedestrians cross the sidewalks, and businesses thrive above ground. Yet below, in the suffocating dark, the echoes of the past remain. The Shanghai tunnels are more than a historic curiosity. They are a reminder of human cruelty, of lives stolen in the dead of night, and of the suffering that refuses to be forgotten. Those who step inside find not only history, but the undeniable presence of something that still lingers, watching, whispering, and reaching out from the shadows. Perched on the rolling hills of Troutdale, Oregon, McMenamin's Edgefield is today known as a charming hotel, brewery, and entertainment venue. But behind the cheerful music, fine dining, and lush vineyards lies a much darker history once steeped in hardship, suffering, and ghostly echoes that have never quite faded away. This sprawling estate, now a popular destination, was once a poor farm and mental hospital, and many believe the spirits of its former residents linger still, unwilling or unable to leave. Guests who come to relax often leave with stories of phantom footsteps, doors that slam on their own, and ghostly figures drifting through the old hospital wing and barns. The story of Edgefield begins in 1911, when it opened as the Multnomah County Poor Farm, during an era when there was no safety net for the homeless, the mentally ill, or the destitute. Facilities like this were intended to provide a place for society's most vulnerable. Life here was not easy. Residents, many elderly or infirm, were expected to work the farm's fields, tending to crops and livestock in exchange for their food and board. The grounds were self-sufficient, boasting barns, gardens, and orchards. Yet beneath the surface of this seemingly wholesome environment was an undercurrent of despair. Poverty, illness, and death were constant companions. As decades passed, the poor farm gradually transitioned into a nursing home and later housed those struggling with mental illness. Medical practices in the early and mid-20th century were far from compassionate. Treatments for mental health were often harsh, experimental, and inhumane. Electroshock therapy, isolation, and rudimentary psychiatric care left many patients traumatized. The institution's long halls became a place of confinement rather than healing, and countless souls passed away within its walls. When McMenamins purchased a property in the 1980s, they transformed the dilapidated site into a thriving community hub. Yet despite the vibrant murals, lively music, and bustling pubs, an unsettling energy lingers. Many believe that the renovations disturbed something deep within the building's history, stirring up the restless spirits of its past. Guests frequently report doors opening and slamming shut when no one is nearby. Some say they've heard the steady tread of phantom footsteps echoing down the long hallways, only to find the corridor empty when they turn to look. Others describe hearing soft whispers or muted cries in the dead of night, as though the walls themselves are carrying the voices of those who once lived in, suffered there. One of the most active areas is the old hospital wing. Here, multiple guests and staff members have seen ghostly apparitions, shadowy figures drifting through rooms, pale forms peering from windows, or fleeting shapes that vanish the moment they are noticed. Some have described encountering what seems to be former patients wandering the halls, their faces expressionless, their movements slow and deliberate. A few visitors even claim to have awoken in the night to find a figure standing silently at the foot of their bed, watching before dissolving into the darkness. The barn and surrounding farm structures hold their own secrets. Once the center of hard labor for residents, these buildings still seem to hum with an eerie energy. Workers and visitors alike have reported seeing figures in work clothes tending to phantom livestock, only to disappear into the shadows. The creak of old wooden doors, the sound of shovels scraping against dirt, and even the bray of long-gone animals have all been heard, though no physical source exists. Perhaps the most unsettling stories come from guests who have felt direct contact. Some describe an icy hand brushing against their shoulder, only to turn and find no one there. Others speak of sudden waves of sadness or despair crashing over them, as if the very air around them carries the grief of the building's former residents. Paranormal investigators who have explored Edgefield often leave with chilling recordings of disembodied voices, unexplained knocks, and strange lights that dart across rooms. Skeptics dismiss these claims as the power of suggestion, pointing out that the knowledge of Edgefield's dark history might make visitors more prone to interpreting ordinary creaks and drafts as supernatural. But even the most rational guests sometimes leave shaken, unable to explain the uncanny experiences they've endured. There is something about the atmosphere of Edgefield, something heavy, something lingering, that even the most skeptical cannot easily ignore. The spirits said to wander here are not all malevolent. Some seem to be echoes of lives once lived, repeating routines of labor or rest. A few guests have even described a sense of comfort in their encounters, as though certain spirits simply want to be acknowledged, not feared. Yet others tell of darker presences, shadows that lurk in corners, or oppressive feelings that leave them rattled long after they depart. Today, McMenamin's Edgefield thrives as a beloved cultural destination, drawing visitors for concerts, weddings, and weekend getaways. But beneath the laughter and clinking glasses, the past still lingers. The poor farm, the hospital, and the many lives that passed through its doors left an imprint that cannot be erased by fresh paint and cheerful. Each creaking floorboard, each cold draft, each unexplained sound carries with it the weight of history, a reminder that the suffering of the past has not been forgotten. For those who dare to spend the night, McMenamin's Edgefield offers more than just a comfortable bed and a glass of wine. It offers a chance to brush shoulders with histories, sometimes quite literally. Visitors arrive expecting a peaceful retreat and instead find themselves face to face with the spectral remnants of the farm's former residents. And as they drift off to sleep in the shadow of the old hospital wing, many cannot help but wonder, are they truly alone in their room, or is someone from the past still watching from the darkness? At McMenamin's Edgefield, the line between past and present blurs. The echoes of hardship, labor, and pain still seep through its walls, reminding all who enter that history never truly dies. Some believe the spirits remain because of the trauma they endured. Others think they are simply tied to the place they once called home. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain. Those who visit leave with the distinct impression that the story of Edgefield is far from over and its ghosts are not yet ready to rest. High above Portland, nestled in the lush greenery of the West Hills, stands the Pittock Mansion. Built in 1914, this opulent estate was the dream home of Henry and Georgiana Pittock, wealthy pioneers who helped shape the city. The mansion, with its French Renaissance-style architecture, grand windows, and sweeping views of Portland, was meant to embody progress, power, and permanence. But despite its grandeur, the Pittock Mansion carries an atmosphere far heavier than its elegant design suggests. To many, the house feels alive, its walls echoing with the laughter, sorrow, and tragedies of its former inhabitants. Over time, whispers of paranormal activity have transformed the estate into one of Portland's most haunted landmarks. The story of the Pittocks is a tale of ambition and legacy. Henry Pittock arrived in Oregon in 1853 as a penniless young man. Through grit and determination, he transformed himself into a publishing magnate, taking over the Oregonian newspaper and building it into a dominant voice for the region. His wife, Georgiana, was equally influential, becoming a well-loved figure in Portland society. Together, they oversaw the creation of the mansion that would symbolize their success. But fate had a cruel twist in store. The couple lived in their magnificent new home for only a few short years. Georgiana passed away in 1918, and Henry followed just a year later. Their deaths left the mansion infused with grief, as if the very foundations absorbed the sorrow of their departure. From that moment onward, strange occurrences began to take place within the sprawling estate. Visitors and caretakers alike have reported the sensation of being watched, even when standing alone in the grand halls. The echoes of the past seem to linger in the air. Some guests describe hearing faint laughter drifting through the rooms, as though long-departed partygoers are still celebrating unseen. Others claim to hear the sound of a piano playing itself, the delicate notes carrying through the empty corridors, only for the sound to vanish when investigated. The ghostly phenomena are not limited to sound. Many who explore the mansion have caught fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures in period clothing. These apparitions, often seen near the grand staircase or the upper hallways, vanish as soon as one looks directly at them. Some speculate these are Henry and Georgiana themselves, continuing to wander the house they loved so dearly. Others believe they could be the lingering presence of servants who worked tirelessly to maintain the mansion during its heyday. The servants' quarters in particular seem to carry the most intense energy. Cold drafts rush through the rooms even in the height of summer, and sudden drops in temperature leave guests shivering as if they've stepped into another world. People describe an oppressive heaviness in these areas, as though the walls themselves are trying to press inward. Footsteps echo across empty hallways, doors creak open without cause, and unseen hands seem to brush against shoulders or arms. For many, these rooms are the most unnerving part of the entire estate. One well-documented encounter involves a former caretaker who swore that he saw the apparition of an elderly woman, dressed in early 20th century clothing, tending to the garden just outside the mansion. When he approached, the figure slowly faded into thin air. The description matches Georgiana Pittock, who had a deep love for gardening and was instrumental in founding Portland's Rose Society. Many believe that her spirit continues to care for the grounds she adored in life, unwilling to let go of the beauty she helped create. Visitors have also reported intense emotional reactions while touring the mansion. Some are overcome with sudden waves of sadness or nostalgia that vanish the moment they step outside. Paranormal investigators who have explored the site with electronic equipment have captured unexplained voices, strange energy fluctuations, and even photos containing ghostly figures standing near windows or mirrors. In one chilling account, an investigator described feeling a cold hand grasp his wrist in the servant's wing, even though no one else was present. The mansion's long history after the Pittocks' deaths only adds to its haunted reputation. The estate fell into disrepair during the mid-20th century and narrowly escaped demolition in the 1960s. It was saved by community efforts, and many believe this act of preservation may have disturbed the spirits that had settled into silence. Since then, reports of supernatural phenomena have only intensified. For those who visit today, the Pittock Mansion is both a historical treasure and a place of unease. Its opulent rooms showcase the grandeur of Portland's past, but its ghostly legends remind visitors that beauty often carries shadows. Whether it is Henry and Georgiana still lingering over their beloved home, or the restless souls of servants and guests who once walked its halls, the mansion feels caught between two worlds. It is a place where the past has refused to fully let go, where echoes of another time still drift through the present. Many who leave the Pittock Mansion carry the same impression, the feeling of unseen eyes watching from the corners, of a house that breathes with memory and loss. Some find it thrilling, others deeply unsettling, but none leave unchanged. In the end, the mansion remains a haunting paradox, both a monument to Portland's proud history and a chilling reminder that the dead sometimes refuse to remain silent. The Pittock Mansion stands as more than just a historic landmark. It is a place where the veil between the living and the dead feels thin, where whispers of the past still move through the air, and where beauty and tragedy walk hand in hand. Those who enter do so not only to admire its grandeur, but also to catch a fleeting glimpse of the shadows that have never truly left its halls. Beneath the bustling city of Portland lies a hidden world of darkness, mystery, and fear. The Shanghai Tunnel catacombs stretch under the city's streets like veins of a forgotten monster, winding through layers of history stained with secrets and suffering. Though many pass above them every day without ever realizing what lurks below, those who dare to descend into the tunnels quickly discover that these passages are far more than abandoned relics of the past. They are alive with whispers, shadows, and echoes of souls who never found their way out. The tunnels were first carved beneath Portland in the 19th century, when the city was booming as a hub for trade and shipping along the Willamette River. At first, the underground passageways served a practical purpose. They allowed goods to be moved discreetly from ships to businesses without clogging the streets above. Barrels of whiskey, crates of supplies, and other shipments could be funneled directly to saloons and shops, keeping the economy flowing. But Portland's underbelly soon developed a darker reputation. The tunnels became known as a breeding ground for crime, vice, and exploitation, earning Portland the grim nickname of the Forbidden City of the West. It was here that the cruel practice of shanghaiing thrived. Unsuspecting Minifan drifters, loggers, or sailors passing through town were drugged or knocked unconscious in local bars, waiting to be sold as labor to ship captains desperate for crew. Some men never woke at all. They suffocated in the dark, their bodies disposed of in the river, their screams swallowed by the tunnel walls. To this day, those who explore the Shanghai Tunnel catacombs report hearing these screams. Paranormal investigators describe chilling moans echoing through empty passageways, as if the voices of men still call out for rescue that will never come. The sounds often seem to grow louder the deeper one goes, as though the tunnels themselves are remembering the terror that once filled them. The air in the tunnels carries a weight unlike anything above ground. Visitors often speak of sudden cold spots that appear and vanish without reason. One moment the air is heavy and damp, the next a freezing draft cuts through the darkness, raising goosebumps on their arms. Some say these cold spots are the spirits brushing past, reenacting their final desperate journeys. Others believe the tunnels act as a portal, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead grows thin. Lights behave strangely in the catacombs as well. Flashlights flicker and die despite fresh batteries. Lanterns dim as if drained by an unseen force. Some claim to see glowing orbs bobbing in the distance, darting just out of reach whenever someone tries to follow. Investigators often capture unexplainable anomalies on video, shadows moving across walls where no person stands, or sudden bursts of light illuminating corners that should be shrouded in total darkness. Even more disturbing are the voices. People have recorded phantom conversations in the tunnels, some spoken in the rough slang of 19th century Portland. Snatches of drunken singing, curses muttered under breath, or desperate pleas for help have all been documented. On occasion, visitors have reported hearing their own names whispered from the shadows, though no one else is near. These disembodied voices seem to grow stronger in the deeper chambers, particularly those rumored to have been holding cells for captives. Certain areas of the tunnels are notorious for their paranormal activity. One chamber beneath an old saloon is said to be haunted by a woman who was murdered after witnessing a Shanghai operation. Her sobs echo in the silence, and some visitors claim to see her shadowed figure crouched against a wall, clutching her chest in eternal terror. In another section, people have reported feeling sudden pressure on their shoulders or arms, as though invisible hands are restraining them. The sensation is so strong that some investigators have fled the tunnels in panic, convinced they were about to be dragged away. Skeptics argue that much of the fear surrounding the Shanghai Tunnel catacombs comes from suggestion, from the weight of history and the natural eeriness of a dark, underground labyrinth. Yet even the most hardened doubters admit that there is something profoundly unsettling about being down there. The silence is never complete. The air feels charged, like a storm waiting to break. And the feeling of being watched is constant, an oppressive presence that lingers even after leaving. Stories from locals only fuel the legend. Bartenders and shopkeepers above the tunnels speak of strange vibrations coming from below, of knocks on the floorboards at night, and of doors slamming shut when no wind is present. Construction workers who have stumbled upon hidden entrances report sudden feelings of dread, sometimes refusing to continue work until the openings are sealed again. Even longtime Portland residents who don't believe in ghosts avoid venturing underground, claiming the tunnels are cursed. Whether the Shanghai tunnel catacombs are truly haunted or not, there is no denying that their history is steeped in misery, crime, and fear. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of men were torn from their lives within these passageways, their fates sealed in darkness. That kind of energy leaves a scar on a place, a lingering echo of desperation that cannot be erased with time. Today, tours bring visitors into select sections of the tunnels, offering a glimpse into the grim underworld that shaped Portland's past. Some leave with nothing more than a shiver and a story. Others emerge pale and shaken, convinced they brushed against something not of this world. They described shadows too solid to be tricks of the light, footsteps closing in from behind, and hands reaching out from the void. The Shanghai tunnel catacombs are more than a historical curiosity. They are a reminder of how cruel humanity can be, and how the echoes of that cruelty endure. Step into the tunnels, and you are stepping into a graveyard of the unseen, a place where the line between history and haunting blurs, and where the spirits of Portland's darkest days still walk, waiting to be heard. Cedar Hills Hospital in Beaverton, Oregon, sits today as a decaying shell of its former self, its halls long abandoned since the 1990s. Once a psychiatric hospital, its walls carry the echoes of anguish, neglect, and fear. For decades, patients who were misunderstood, mistreated, or simply forgotten by society lived behind its barred windows and locked doors. The building was supposed to be a place of healing, but instead, it became synonymous with silence, shadows, and sorrow. Now, explorers who dare to step inside speak of a suffocating atmosphere, a sensation of being watched, and ghostly encounters that chill the blood. The first impression of Cedar Hills strikes visitors long before they enter. The grounds are overgrown, the pavement cracked and swallowed by weeds. The exterior, with its fading paint and broken windows, seems to glare at onlookers like a wounded animal. Locals often whisper about the building, calling it cursed, a place where the dead refuse to rest. Many who grew up in Beaverton say they always avoided walking near the old hospital at night, for fear of glimpsing someone or something standing in the windows where no living soul should be. Inside, the silence is overwhelming. The long corridors stretch into darkness, lined with peeling paint and doors hanging on rusted hinges. The smell of mold and decay is heavy, but sometimes it is replaced by something stranger, sharp, sterile, antiseptic. Paranormal investigators claim this sudden scent emerges without explanation, as if the building itself remembers its days of forced cleanliness, when the hospital staff scrubbed every surface but could never cleanse the suffering that unfolded there. Visitors often describe being overtaken by waves of nausea or dread the moment they cross the threshold, as though the hospital itself resents their intrusion. One of the most common experiences within Cedar Hills is the sound of footsteps. Explorers who walk through the corridors alone often stop in fear when they hear steady, deliberate steps following them. Sometimes the sound echoes from behind, sometimes above, as though something unseen is pacing the upper floors. But when searched, the spaces are empty. Those who hear it describe the sound as heavy, measured, almost like the steps of a guard patrolling the wards, ensuring the patients never left their rooms. At times, the footsteps stop abruptly, only to resume again, closer than before. Shadows also move where no light should cast them. In the dim glow of flashlights, figures flicker across doorways and corners, appearing for just a moment before vanishing into the dark. Some explorers claim to have seen full-bodied apparitions, patients in tattered gowns, their faces pale and expressionless, wandering aimlessly as if trapped in an endless cycle of confusion. Others have reported seeing shadowy forms darting quickly across hallways, faster than a human could move. Many describe these shapes as darker than the natural shadows of the building, almost like voids in the air itself. Perhaps the most disturbing reports come from those who venture near the old treatment rooms. Cedar Hills, like many psychiatric hospitals of its time, is rumored to have housed experimental and controversial treatments. The remnants of this past still linger in the form of rusted equipment and abandoned rooms. Investigators say the energy in these areas is the heaviest, pressing down on visitors until they feel their chests tighten. Some have even reported hearing faint moans and cries in the distance, as though echoes of the patient's suffering still reverberate through time. One visitor swore she heard a voice whisper directly in her ear, calling her name, though she was entirely alone. Temperature changes are another phenomenon that plagues the hospital. Even on warm summer nights, sudden icy drafts flow through the corridors. Explorers often feel the chill sweep over them suddenly, accompanied by goosebumps and an unshakable sense that something unseen has just passed by. In the former wards where patients once slept, these temperature drops are particularly common, and some claim to have felt invisible hands brush against their arms or shoulders. The sensation is so real that many flee the building, unable to continue. Local legends add to the chilling atmosphere. Some say that during the hospital's final years, staff began to report strange occurrences, equipment moving on its own, lights flickering despite stable power, and unexplained voices calling out in empty rooms. Nurses allegedly refused to work the night shifts alone, insisting that something unnatural lingered in the hospital even before it was shut down. When the facility finally closed, it was said that some of the patients simply disappeared from records, their fates unknown. People whisper that their spirits still wander the halls, searching for the lives they were denied. Today, Cedar Hills is more than just an abandoned building. It has become a landmark of fear, drawing urban explorers, thrill seekers, and paranormal investigators alike. Some leave shaken, vowing never to return, while others are pulled back again and again, convinced the hospital hides secrets waiting to be uncovered. What is certain is that Cedar Hills refuses to be forgotten. Its cracked walls and hollow halls serve as a grim reminder of a troubled past, and the spirits within seem determined to keep their presence known. For those who enter, Cedar Hills Hospital is not just an abandoned psychiatric facility. It's a place where history bleeds into the present, where the air itself is thick with memory and grief. The footsteps that echo through its corridors, the whispers that slip through the silence, and the shadows that dart just beyond sight are not tricks of the imagination. They are the reminders of lives once confined, of pain left unresolved, and of souls unable to move on. Cedar Hills may have closed its doors decades ago, but its story continues, written in every chill, every sound, and every fleeting glimpse of the dead still walking among the living. High above the Willamette River, stretching between Portland's rolling hills, stands the St. John's Bridge, a structure of Gothic spires and sweeping cables that has long captured the city's imagination. To the casual observer, it is a work of architectural beauty, a landmark that blends elegance with strength. Yet beneath its grandeur lies a darker reputation. Whispers of tragic deaths, suicides, and spectral apparitions have turned the bridge into one of Portland's most chillingly haunted locations. For many, crossing its span after dark is not simply a commute, it is a confrontation with the unknown. From the moment the bridge was completed in 1931, its haunting presence began to take root. While its design brought pride to Portland, it also brought with it a tragic legacy. Like many bridges across the world, the St. John's Bridge has become a destination for those seeking to end their lives. Over the decades, countless souls have leaped from its towering heights, their final moments swallowed by the river below. The echoes of their despair, many believe, have left a permanent mark, embedding the structure with sorrow and restless energy that cannot be erased. Visitors who walk the length of the bridge late at night often report an unsettling sensation, a sudden drop in temperature, as if icy fingers had brushed across their skin. Some describe an inexplicable heaviness, an emotional weight that presses against the chest and fills the mind with thoughts not entirely their own. For those sensitive to such energies, it is as if the bridge remembers every tragic story, replaying them in whispers that only the living can faintly perceive. Perhaps the most chilling reports come from those who claim to have seen shadowy figures lingering near the railings. Witnesses describe them as vague silhouettes, darker than the night itself, standing impossibly still before vanishing without a trace. Some of these figures appear to mimic the gestures of despair. Others have been seen perched on the railing, their forms so realistic that drivers have stopped their cars in alarm, only to discover that no one was there. The gusts of cold wind that suddenly whip across the span only deepen the sense of dread. Portlanders often joke about the city's unpredictable weather, but those who have stood on the bridge during these inexplicable blasts of icy air speak with less humor. They claim the winds are not natural, but rather the rush of unseen forces moving past perhaps the souls of those forever tethered to the bridge, brushing against the living as they pass. Paranormal investigators who have ventured onto the bridge at night describe it as one of the most active locations in the city. EVP recordings captured disembodied voices, some whispering pleas for help, others crying out in anguish. Strange light anomalies appear in photographs, hovering near the railings or drifting into the shadows. One investigator even recounted the sensation of a hand firmly gripping their arm, pulling them toward the edge. Shaken, they admitted that for a fleeting moment they felt an overwhelming desire to jump, as though the spirits themselves were urging them to share their fate. Drivers crossing late at night also report strange encounters. Many have claimed to see a lone figure standing at the far end of the bridge, only for it to vanish when headlights draw near. Some describe glimpsing someone in old-fashioned clothing, as if belonging to another era entirely. In one chilling account, a motorist swore they saw a young woman in a flowing dress step directly into their lane, slamming the brakes. The driver stopped short, yet there was no one there. Only the faint scent of roses lingered in the air, fading into nothing. Local legend holds that certain spirits are more persistent than others. Among the most frequently mentioned is a man said to wander the length of the bridge in silence, his form seen pacing back and forth late at night. Some say he was a worker who fell during construction, while others believe he is the spirit of a restless suicide victim. Whoever he is, his presence has become part of the bridge's lore, a reminder that the line between the living and the dead is especially thin here. Even those who do not believe in ghosts often admit that the St. John's Bridge carries an undeniable aura. The Gothic arches and emerald-painted towers seem to belong as much to a dream as to reality, casting shadows that stir the imagination. At twilight, when the sun dips behind the west hills and the bridge is cloaked in fading light, it becomes a place of haunting beauty, where the natural and supernatural intertwine. Some Portlanders avoid the bridge after dark altogether, unwilling to risk the chilling encounters that so many have described. Others are drawn to it, compelled by curiosity or the thrill of standing on one of the city's most haunted landmarks. Yet even the bravest admit that lingering too long in its presence can leave one unsettled, as though the bridge has a way of burrowing into the mind, planting whispers that echo long after one has returned home. To cross the St. John's Bridge is to cross more than steel and river. It is to brush against Portland's hidden stories of grief, despair, and lingering spirits. For every driver who passes without incident, there is another who swears they were not alone. The unseen eyes followed their every move. The bridge remains a monument not just to architectural achievement, but to the fragile line between life and death, a line that, on certain nights, seems to vanish entirely. Deep in the Siskiyou Mountains of southern Oregon lies a place of breathtaking beauty, but also of chilling reputation. The Oregon Caves, near Cave Junction, known to geologists and adventurers as the Marble Halls of Oregon. These twisting caverns attract thousands of visitors each year. On the surface, they are celebrated for their gleaming formations, their underground streams, and their otherworldly atmosphere. But beneath that natural wonder lies a darker story, one that locals and visitors whisper about with unease. The Oregon caves are not just a geological marvel, they are said to be alive with restless spirits, the echoes of miners, explorers, and unfortunate souls who never made it back into the daylight. The caves were first discovered in 1874 by Elijah Davidson, who stumbled into the caverns while chasing his dog. Armed with only a candle, he wandered through the twisting chambers, finding himself surrounded by pitch-black silence when his light extinguished. Though he managed to escape, his harrowing encounter marked the beginning of the cave's long history of both wonder and dread. In the decades that followed, prospectors came hoping to strike it rich, and tourists entered the caverns with crude lanterns to marvel at the stone. But not all of them returned. Stories of missing miners and vanished travelers began to circulate, weaving the first strands of the Oregon caves' haunted legend. One of the most chilling aspects of the caves is their overwhelming sense of isolation. Even today, with electric lights and guided tours, the tunnels stretch into pitch-black depths that seem to swallow sound. Visitors often remark on the eerie silence, broken only by the dripping of water and the faint rustle of unseen movement. Some have reported hearing footsteps pacing in chambers long thought empty, or whispers carried through the tunnels by no living voice. These sounds often echo in places where records say miners once worked, and sometimes died in their desperate search for mineral wealth. Paranormal investigators who have ventured into the caves claim that the spirits of these miners remain. One common report is of ghostly lantern lights flickering in the distance, vanishing when approached. Others describe the sound of picks striking stone, rhythmic and steady, though no workers have labored here in generations. In one notorious story, a group of explorers in the early 1900s claimed to see a man in ragged work clothes moving through the tunnel ahead of them. When they called out, the figure turned to reveal hollow, glowing eyes before vanishing into the wall itself. But the cave's legends are not limited to miners. Some believe that long before Europeans set foot in Oregon, indigenous peoples regarded the caverns as a sacred and dangerous place, a threshold between the living and the spirit world. Local tribes spoke of powerful spirits dwelling within the earth, guardians of the dark passages who punished those who entered without respect. Even now, some visitors claim to feel watched from the shadows, as though unseen eyes are following their every step. Guides often recount stories of tourists who break down in tears or flee suddenly from the tunnels, overwhelmed by an invisible pressure. The sensation of being followed is one of the most common reports. Many describe walking through the narrow passageways only to feel a cold draft brush the back of their neck, or the faint sound of shuffling footsteps directly behind them. When they turn, the tunnels stretch empty, the air still. The feeling is so strong that some refuse to go any deeper, choosing to leave rather than face what might be lurking unseen. Perhaps the most infamous area is known as the Ghost Room, a chamber where numerous visitors have reported paranormal activity. Disembodied whispers are said to echo from the stone walls, and cold spots linger in places where the air should be still. Some describe seeing faint, translucent shapes moving in the corners of their vision, vanishing when they try to focus. A few claim to have captured unexplained voices on recordings, with phrases in archaic English or accents that no longer exist in modern Oregon. There are also tales of explorers who entered alone and never emerged. While official records attribute these tragedies to disorientation and exhaustion, locals insist that something more sinister claimed them. The cave's labyrinthine passages can play tricks on the mind, creating the illusion of movement in the shadows. But to those who believe, these shadows are more than tricks. They are the spirits of the lost, forever wandering the underground maze. Not all of the reported encounters are terrifying, however. Some visitors speak of a softer presence, almost protective, guiding them through the caves when they felt disoriented. One woman recounted feeling a gentle hand on her shoulder, steering her toward the exit when she had lost her group. She believed it to be the spirit of a miner who once roamed the tunnels, a soul who could not leave but refused to let others suffer the same fate. The Oregon caves continue to draw both nature lovers and paranormal seekers. By day, they are a marvel of geology, carved by time and water into a subterranean cathedral of stone. But once the lights dim and silence settles over the chambers, the atmosphere changes. The walls seem to breathe, the darkness presses closer, and the whispers of the past rise from the shadows. For those who step inside, the caves offer more than natural beauty. They offer a brush with the unknown. Every drip of water, every gust of cold air, and every fleeting echo might be just a quirk of the underground world. Or it might be something else, something older, something watching. The Oregon caves are a reminder that beauty and terror often walk hand in hand, and that some places in the world are never truly empty, no matter how deep you go. The old Oregon State Hospital in Salem is one of those places that carries a weight the moment you approach it. Once a massive psychiatric facility, its imposing brick walls and tall, narrow windows seem to hold more than just memories. They hold secrets. For over a century, it stood as a reminder of how the mentally ill were treated in earlier times. While its original purpose was to heal, its legacy is instead shrouded in tales of mistreatment, suffering, and the restless spirits of those who never found peace within its walls. Today, even decades after its closure, the hospital is regarded as one of the most haunted places in Oregon, and the stories surrounding it are chilling. The institution first opened its doors in the late 1800s, at a time when mental health treatment was poorly understood. Patients were subjected to crude methods of control, including straitjackets, isolation, and experimental procedures that would never be considered ethical today. Many were abandoned by their families and spent their entire lives within the hospital, dying without anyone to claim their bodies. The sheer scale of death and despair that accumulated in the building's long history is thought to fuel its haunting reputation. Visitors who step inside the old facility often describe an overwhelming heaviness in the air, as though the building itself remembers every scream, every sob, and every moment of fear that echoed through its hallways. The hospital's basement, in particular, is infamous. It was once used to house the morgue and storage for the unclaimed dead. Paranormal investigators who have ventured down there tell of sudden cold spots, loud bangs in the distance, and the unnerving sensation of being followed. Some have reported seeing shadowy figures darting across the walls, disappearing just as quickly as they appear. The hallways above are no less active. Echoes of phantom footsteps have been heard when no one else is inside, and voices sometimes hushed, sometimes screaming drift down the corridors. It's not unusual for visitors to feel their hair tugged or to hear their names whispered by unseen presences. Many describe the sensation of being constantly watched, as if dozens of unseen eyes are tracking their every move. The longer you remain, the stronger the impression becomes, until some have fled the building entirely, unable to withstand the pressure of whatever lingers there. Perhaps the most unsettling accounts come from those who have reported apparitions of former patients, dressed in hospital gowns from another era. These ghostly figures appear briefly before fading into the shadows. One of the most frequently seen is said to be a woman who roams the hallways, her face obscured by her long, dark hair. She is often heard crying softly, and when approached, vanishes before any contact can be made. Others have claimed to encounter the spirit of a doctor or nurse, stern in appearance, who glares at intruders before disappearing into thin air. The hospital also became infamous for its role in storing the cremated remains of patients whose bodies were never claimed by relatives. For years, thousands of copper canisters sat in storage, each containing the ashes of a life forgotten. The sheer tragedy of so many unacknowledged deaths adds another layer of sorrow to the building. Paranormal researchers believe that many of the spirits lingering here may be tied to those remains, seeking recognition after decades of anonymity. Even the physical environment of the hospital contributes to its haunted atmosphere. Long corridors stretch into darkness, the peeling paint and crumbling walls creating a setting straight out of a nightmare. Doors slam shut on their own, lights flicker despite there being no power, and electronic equipment used by investigators often malfunctions in specific hotspots. Cold drafts sweep through sealed rooms, and disembodied moans are often picked up on audio recorders. Those brave enough to spend a night inside often describe it as one of the most unnerving experiences of their lives. The old Oregon State Hospital has even captured the attention of filmmakers and historians who have documented its chilling atmosphere. Yet no camera or written account can fully capture the feeling of being inside, surrounded by echoes of pain and the restless energy of countless lost souls. Some visitors believe the spirits here are trying to communicate, reaching out through whispers and fleeting apparitions. Others argue that the energy is more sinister, feeding on fear and drawing strength from the terror it inspires. What remains certain is that the hospital holds on to its past with an intensity that cannot be ignored. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the weight of history here is undeniable. Each scream still seems to reverberate through the walls, each shadow a reminder of the suffering that once filled these halls. For many, it is not just a building, it is a monument to tragedy, haunted not only by spirits, but by the very real memories of neglect and cruelty that marked its long history. Today, those who dare to step inside come away changed. Some leave shaken, unable to forget the whispers and footsteps that seemed to follow them. Others leave, convinced that they encountered something beyond explanation. And perhaps that is the most frightening truth about the old Oregon State Hospital. No matter how much time passes, the echoes of its past remain alive, lingering in the shadows, waiting for the next soul brave enough for foolish enough to enter. The Flavel House in Astoria, Oregon, is a place that embodies elegance, history, and mystery all at once. Built in the late 1800s by Captain George Flavel, one of the city's most prominent and wealthy figures, the mansion was designed as a testament to its prosperity and the grandeur of the Victorian era. Its steep gables, ornate woodwork, and towering presence make it one of the most striking landmarks in Astoria. By day, it feels like a museum frozen in time. Its polished staircases and stained glass windows whispering of old-world refinement. But when night falls, the house takes on an entirely different aura. Visitors and staff alike have long whispered about ghostly encounters within its walls, suggesting that the Flavel House may be as haunted as it is historic. One of the most well-known legends tied to the mansion is that of the Lady in White. She is often described as a graceful, ethereal figure who drifts silently down the long hallways or lingers at the foot of the sweeping staircase. Witnesses claim she moves with purpose, as if searching for someone she lost long ago. The Lady in White is frequently spotted during the late evening hours, usually when the house is quiet and nearly empty. Guests have reported feeling the sudden drop of temperature just before she appears, followed by an overwhelming sense of sadness. Some believe she may be tied to the Flavel family, perhaps a former resident or a lost soul with deep connections to the house. Others insist she is not connected to the family at all, but rather a spirit who found herself tethered to the mansion over the decades. The paranormal activity at Flavel House, however, is not limited to this spectral figure. Many visitors have spoken about doors that seem to open and close on their own, often with no explanation. Heavy oak doors have been seen swinging shut with force, even when no draft or wind could possibly account for it. In other cases, doorknobs have been heard rattling, as if someone on the other side were trying to enter. Such occurrences are often accompanied by cold spot areas of the mansion where the temperature plummets without warning. These icy patches tend to linger in the hallways and near the bedrooms, creating an atmosphere of unease for those who pass through. The faint scent of perfume has also been one of the most chilling reports. Guests describe it as an old-fashioned fragrance, sweet yet heavy, reminiscent of a bygone era. What makes this occurrence particularly unsettling is that it often drifts into rooms where no one has been, leaving behind a lingering trace of presence. On several occasions, visitors have smelled the perfume just moments before catching a glimpse of the Lady in White, suggesting the two phenomena may be connected. Paranormal investigators who have spent the night inside Flavel House have documented strange audio recordings. Disembodied voices, too faint to be understood, have been captured echoing through the halls. Some recordings carry what sounds like sobbing, while others feature hushed conversations between unseen presences. Investigators have also reported sudden malfunctions with their equipment. Batteries drain inexplicably fast, Cameras shut off without warning, and motion sensors trigger even when no one is near. These strange technical anomalies add to the belief that the spirits within the house are not only present, but actively interacting with their surroundings. The mansion's history provides plenty of reason for such unrest. While the Flavel family lived comfortably, their wealth was not without controversy, and stories of tragedy and hardship surround their legacy. The house itself has weathered generations of change, serving different roles throughout Astoria's history. Each transition seems to have left an imprint, adding to the complex layers of spiritual energy lingering within. Many believe that such sites, with long and storied pasts, tend to collect emotional residue from the people who lived and died there. In the case of Flavel House, these echoes of the past may have formed into the manifestations seen today. Nighttime tours of the Flavel House often draw in those seeking an encounter with the paranormal. Some leave with stories of shadowy figures moving past the windows when the house is supposedly empty. Others recall the sound of footsteps pacing the upper floors, echoing in a rhythm that suggests a restless presence still patrols the halls. A few even claim to have felt an invisible hand brush against their arm or shoulder. A fleeting but unforgettable sensation of being touched by something unseen. Skeptics, of course, argue that much of the activity can be explained by the creaks and groans of an old house settling or the power of suggestion, leading people to imagine things in the dim light. Yet the sheer volume of reports, spanning decades and coming from countless independent sources, makes it difficult to dismiss entirely. The perfume, the doors, the phantom footsteps, and the lady in white, these stories all weave together into a tapestry of mystery that continues to draw the curious and the brave. The Flavel House is more than just a historic landmark. It is a living story, one where the line between past and present blurs. Each visitor who steps inside is met not only with the elegance of Victorian architecture, but also with the possibility of experiencing something beyond explanation. For some, it is a brush with history. For others, it is a brush with the supernatural. And for those who encounter the lady in white, or the lingering scent of perfume, the experience leaves a mark that is impossible to forget. In Astoria, the Flavel House stands as both a monument to the city's golden age and a reminder that some stories never truly end. They linger in hallways, drift through locked doors, and move quietly in the stillness of night. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, stepping into the mansion means stepping into a place where the past breathes, and where echoes of another time still whisper to those who listen closely. The Portland Hotel, a grand old building nestled in the heart of the city, has long been a magnet for travelers seeking charm, history, and the unique character of one of Oregon's oldest urban landmarks. From its ornate lobby to its labyrinthine hallways, the hotel is a testament to early 20th century architecture, complete with high ceilings, intricate woodwork, and large, elegant windows that once offered sweeping views of the city streets below. But behind the hotel's polished facade lies a darker story, one steeped in unexplained phenomena, lingering presences, and ghostly activity that has haunted the building for decades. Many guests report that the Portland Hotel is far from a typical place to rest. Visitors often awaken to a chilling sensation, the inexplicable feeling of being watched or someone standing near the edge of the bed. Despite looking around, the rooms are always empty, the air seemingly still except for the subtle whisper of something unseen. Some claim that these presences are playful, moving small objects just slightly, or causing curtains to sway gently in rooms where windows remain closed. Others insist that the spirits are more malevolent, their energy leaving visitors with an unnerving sense of dread that lingers long after they depart. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the movement of furniture. Guests have described chairs sliding across the floor, tables tipping slightly, and objects disappearing from one corner of a room only to reappear elsewhere. Some have even seen chairs rocking back and forth on their own, as if someone invisible were taking a seat. These movements often occur when no one else is in the room, adding an element of fear and confusion to what should be a simple night's sleep. Lights flickering throughout the hotel is another frequent occurrence. In some cases, entire hallways are plunged into darkness for brief moments, only to return with a sudden flash. Guests report bulbs burning out instantly or dimming inexplicably. Electrical devices, too, seem to behave oddly. Alarm clocks reset themselves, phones malfunction, and televisions turn on or off without explanation. Some believe these manifestations are tied to restless spirits, entities lingering from the hotel's early years when Portland was a bustling center of trade and commerce. The shadows that move through the hallways and rooms of the Portland Hotel are among the most unsettling reports. Dark figures are often glimpsed out of the corner of the eye, vanishing when turned toward directly. Guests walking through the corridors have felt as though someone is following them, only to glance back and find the passage empty. Some staff members claim to have seen shapes hovering near the staircases, sometimes resembling figures in period clothing, as if echoes of former residents or visitors have become imprinted on the building itself. The hotel's history provides a glimpse into why it may be so active. Constructed in the early 1900s, the Portland Hotel has witnessed decades of human activity, celebrations, business dealings, and countless nights of rest for travelers from all walks of life. With such a long history, it is perhaps unsurprising that some residual energy remains. Stories of tragedies and sudden deaths within the hotel have been whispered among longtime staff members, though the details are often vague, adding an air of mystery. These incidents are frequently cited as potential sources for the lingering hauntings that visitors continue to experience. Guests also report auditory phenomena that defy explanation. The faint sound of footsteps echoes along the halls late at night, often stopping abruptly as if the source vanished into thin air. Murmurs of conversation, laughter, or quiet sobbing have been heard in otherwise empty rooms. Some have even recounted the sensation of hearing a voice calling their name, soft and insistent, drawing them toward certain parts of the hotel. Paranormal investigators who have explored the building report capturing faint voices on audio recordings, too subtle to interpret clearly but undeniably present. Perhaps one of the most disconcerting experiences reported is the sensation of being touched by something invisible. Guests frequently describe light brushes on the arm or shoulder while lying in bed, or the feeling of a presence hovering near them as they sleep. The sensation is never prolonged, but it leaves a lasting impression, making even the bravest visitors uneasy. Some attribute this to the spirits of former guests or staff who remain tied to the building, unable or unwilling to move on. Despite or perhaps because of its reputation, the Portland Hotel continues to attract curiosity seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. The combination of history, architecture, and unexplained activity creates an environment ripe for ghost stories. Nighttime tours often highlight rooms with the highest concentration of reports, including guest chambers where furniture has been observed moving on its own, hallways with frequent shadow sightings, and areas where the temperature suddenly drops for no apparent reason. The hotel's charm remains undiminished by the paranormal activity. Rather, it adds a layer of intrigue and mystique that draws people in. Each visitor brings their own experience, whether a fleeting sense of presence, an unexplained noise, or a chilling encounter with moving objects. These stories circulate through word of mouth and online forums, building the Portland Hotel's reputation as a place where history and the supernatural intertwine. For those who stay at the Portland Hotel, the experience can be unforgettable in ways both beautiful and unsettling. The combination of historic elegance and unexplained activity creates a unique atmosphere where the past seems to coexist with the present. Visitors leave with memories not just of the architecture and decor, but of the fleeting, sometimes eerie moments when the hotel felt alive with unseen eyes and whispered secrets. Whether one believes in ghosts or attributes the experiences to imagination and old building quirks, the Portland Hotel remains a location steeped in mystery. Its hallways, rooms, and staircases hold stories that refuse to fade, waiting for the next guest to feel the brush of a ghostly presence, the flicker of a phantom light, or the subtle movement of a chair that should not have moved. For those willing to listen, the hotel offers more than lodging. It offers a doorway into a past that has never truly left, and a glimpse into the unknown that continues to captivate and unsettle all who step inside. Ecola State Park, perched along the rugged coastline near Cannon Beach, Oregon, is renowned for its breathtaking scenery. Towering cliffs, dense forests, and the endless expanse of the Pacific Ocean create a landscape that is both serene and awe-inspiring. Visitors come to hike its trails, photograph its vistas, and experience the natural beauty of one of Oregon's most iconic state parks. Yet beneath this scenic tranquility lies a darker side and undercurrent of legends, tragedy, and ghostly encounters that have haunted the park for decades. Many locals and adventurous hikers believe that Ecola is a place where the natural world intersects with the supernatural, where the spirits of the past linger along the cliffs and forested trails. Much of the park's haunted reputation stems from the treacherous history of shipwrecks along the Oregon coast. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, treacherous waters, dense fog, and rocky shores claimed countless vessels. Sailors lost to the sea often perished in sudden storms, their lives ending abruptly and tragically along the jagged cliffs near what is now Ecola State Park. According to local lore, the spirits of these lost mariners never fully left the area. Hikers report hearing the distant sounds of crashing waves, accompanied by cries and shouts that seem impossibly close, as though someone were calling for help from beyond the edge of the cliffs. Ghostly figures are another frequent report among visitors. Some claim to see shadowy silhouettes moving near the cliff edges or standing among the trees. These apparitions are often described as indistinct, sometimes appearing in the form of sailors in old-fashioned clothing, with faces obscured or indistinguishable. Witnesses say the figures vanish when approached, leaving only the lingering sense that someone or something has been watching them. Several hikers have described the sensation of sudden chills. When these sightings occur, even on warm, sunny days, the temperature drop seems to follow the apparition, creating an immediate and unsettling awareness of the supernatural presence nearby. One particularly chilling aspect of Ecola's hauntings involves the trails along the cliffs. Visitors often hike alone or in small groups, and many report hearing footsteps behind them when no one else is present. The sound seems to match their own pace, growing louder and more distinct as they continue along the path, only to vanish when they turn around. Some hikers report whispers carried on the wind, faint voices calling their names or murmuring phrases that are impossible to decipher. These experiences are so vivid that they have led some visitors to abandon hikes entirely, fearful of what might be following them unseen. The rocky shoreline below the cliffs also holds a reputation for supernatural activity. Waves crash violently against the rocks, and the sound often carries a strange, human-like quality. Several accounts tell of figures appearing near the water's edge, as if searching for loved ones lost to the sea. On foggy mornings, when visibility is low, some hikers and photographers claim to have captured fleeting images of ghostly sailors on the rocks, their outlines shimmering and fading into the mist. Even long after the sun rises, the sensation of unseen presence lingers, making the area feel alive with the echoes of tragedy. Paranormal investigators who have visited Ecola State Park frequently report heightened activity around the cliffs and wooded areas. Temperature fluctuations, sudden gusts of wind, and unexplained sounds are common. Some investigators have recorded EVP's electronic voice phenomena featuring cries for help, hurried footsteps, or faint murmurs of conversation in languages that sound antiquated or nautical in origin. Nighttime visits, although rare due to safety concerns, often yield the most intense experiences. Hikers report shadows flitting among the trees, lights reflecting in strange patterns on the ocean, and the persistent sensation of being watched. Stories passed down from local residents reinforce the park's eerie reputation. Older generations speak of families who claim to see figures on the cliffs before tragic storms struck the coast, or fishermen who encountered spectral sailors along the shoreline. These stories blend the natural dangers of the area with a supernatural dimension, suggesting that Ecola State Park is a place where the past continues to leave its mark, both in memory and in spirit. Even without the legends, The environment itself contributes to a sense of otherworldliness. The cliffs rise sharply above the ocean, creating deep shadows and echoing the wind in uncanny ways. Fog often rolls in unexpectedly, obscuring paths and transforming familiar trails into something unrecognizable. The interplay of light and shadow, combined with the roaring surf, can make hikers feel as though they are being watched or followed. Many who visit at sunset or dusk describe the landscape taking on a surreal, almost ethereal quality, further blurring the line between the natural world and the paranormal. Despite the unsettling experiences reported by visitors, Ecola State Park remains a popular destination. The mix of natural beauty and mysterious occurrences draws photographers, hikers, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. For some, the supernatural elements are part of the allure, offering a glimpse into the history and tragedy of the Oregon coast. For others, even a brief visit can leave a lasting impression, as the cries of lost sailors and the fleeting images of ghostly figures linger in memory long after leaving the park. In the end, Ecola State Park is more than a destination for scenic views and outdoor adventure. It is a place where history, nature, and the unknown converge. Every trail, cliff, and shoreline holds stories of lives lost, tragedies endured, and spirits that may never rest. Whether or not one believes in ghosts, the sensations experienced, hear the sudden chills, the unexplained footsteps, the whispers carried on the wind serve as reminders that some places carry the weight of the past in ways that are impossible to ignore. For those who walk its trails, Ecola State Park offers not only breathtaking vistas, but also a brush with the mysterious, a fleeting connection to the souls who remain bound to the cliffs and the sea, whispering their stories to anyone willing to listen. ChatGPT said, perched dramatically on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean near Florence, Oregon, the Heseta Head Lighthouse has long been a beacon for sailors navigating the treacherous coastline. Built in 1894, its powerful light helped countless ships avoid disaster among the rocky shores below. But beyond its practical purpose and breathtaking views, the lighthouse harbors a much darker, more mysterious side. For decades, visitors and staff have reported a series of unexplained phenomena that suggest the presence of something or someone still lingering within its historic walls. Central to the lighthouse's haunting legend is the story of a former keeper who is said to remain tethered to the property long after his death. Accounts vary. Some claim he was a dedicated man who fell to despair after a tragic accident, while others insist he was a strict and imposing figure who ruled the lighthouse with an iron hand. Regardless of the details, the common thread in the stories is that his spirit continues to patrol the halls and stairways, maintaining a spectral watch over the light and the ocean beyond. Visitors often report the sensation of being observed, a feeling so intense that it is as if unseen eyes follow them from room to room. Cold drafts are one of the most common phenomena reported. On warm summer days or calm winter nights, certain parts of the lighthouse suddenly become icy, with temperatures dropping sharply for no discernible reason. These chills are often localized near the spiral staircase and the keeper's quarters, suggesting that the spirit's presence is concentrated in areas where he spent the most time in life. Guests describe the cold as unnerving and persistent, sometimes accompanied by a sense of dread that makes them quicken their pace or feel an urgent need to leave. Doors opening and closing on their own are another frequently reported occurrence. Heavy wooden doors, once thought to be securely latched, have been seen swinging wide or shutting with a soft, eerie thud. Some visitors have even reported the sound of doorknobs turning and hinges creaking in rooms where no one else is present. These sudden movements are often accompanied by other phenomena: flicker of light, a whisper, or a faint footstep, adding layers of unease to the experience. In some cases, visitors insist that they have seen doors slowly inch open, as though someone or something were inviting them into a room, only to vanish before they can enter. Perhaps the most chilling of all, the Heseta Head Lighthouse's paranormal features is the mysterious sound of a foghorn. Even when the lighthouse is fully decommissioned and the foghorn is silent, many visitors report hearing its low, mournful tone echoing through the halls. The sound is described as distant but unmistakable, a haunting reminder of the lighthouse's original purpose and the dangers faced by sailors off the coast. For some, the foghorn seems to call out across time, resonating with the spirit of the keeper and the countless lives that depended on his vigilance. Shadowy figures are another common report. Many guests describe fleeting glimpses of a man in old-fashioned attire moving along the hallways or peering out of windows. The apparition is rarely seen clearly, often appearing as a silhouette or a misty form that disappears when approached. Witnesses say the figure carries a heavy presence, sometimes exuding sadness, and other times a quiet authority, as though continuing to fulfill the duties he once took seriously in life. Some even claim to have felt a sudden, gentle touch on their shoulder or arm, a sensation that startles yet leaves a lingering sense of reassurance, as though the spirit is guiding rather than harming them. The keeper's quarters, now part of the lighthouse's historical exhibits and occasional lodging, are often cited as the epicenter of the activity. Guests staying overnight report footsteps pacing above or below, disembodied whispers, and the sensation of someone watching them as they sleep. Even when the rooms are empty, the atmosphere is heavy with an inexplicable energy. Paranormal investigators who have studied the lighthouse frequently report capturing EVP's electronic voice phenomena featuring faint words, murmurs, and sometimes calls to look out or stay safe, suggesting that the spirit may still feel a duty to protect those navigating the treacherous cliffs and coastline. The lighthouse's isolated location amplifies the haunting sensations. The constant roar of the Pacific waves, the wind whipping against the cliffs, and the natural creaks of the century-old building all contribute to an eerie, otherworldly ambience. Hikers and tourists approaching at dusk often report a strange anticipation, a feeling that something is waiting to be seen or heard. Once inside, the historic woodwork, spiral staircases, and narrow passages create shadows and acoustics that make even subtle movements or sounds feel amplified, blending natural occurrences with the supernatural. Despite its chilling reputation, Heseta Head Lighthouse remains a popular destination for both history enthusiasts and ghost hunters. Its beauty, combined with its haunted allure, draws visitors who are eager to witness firsthand the reported phenomena. Some leave with nothing more than the memory of a scenic sunset over the cliffs, while others recount experiences of cold touches, flickering lights, and the unmistakable presence of the former lighthouse keeper. Each story adds to the enduring mystique of the location, making it one of Oregon's most compellingly haunted sites. The lighthouse's dual nature, as both a historical landmark and a paranormal hotspot, creates a unique experience for visitors. It is a place where the past seems to overlap with the present, where the ordinary act of climbing a staircase or walking down a hallway becomes charged with the possibility of encountering the unknown. For those who enter Heseta Head Lighthouse, it is impossible to ignore the lingering presence of the keeper, whose dedication and tragedy have transcended death to remain etched into the walls, staircases, and the very air of the building. In the end, the Heseta Head Lighthouse is more than just a beacon for ships. It is a beacon for the curious, the brave, and those willing to acknowledge that some spirits never leave. Its cold drafts, self-moving doors, haunting foghorn, and shadowy figures create an unforgettable experience, blending history with mystery and beauty with fear. For anyone visiting the Oregon coast, the lighthouse offers not only spectacular views, but a chance to step into a world where the past whispers and the unseen still watches over the cliffs and waves below. The Oregon Historical Society, nestled in the heart of Portland, is more than a museum and archive. It is a repository of the state's rich and sometimes turbulent history. Founded in 1898, the Society has collected countless artifacts, documents, and photographs chronicling the lives, achievements, and tragedies of Oregon's past. Visitors come to explore its exhibitions, study the archives, and immerse themselves in the stories of pioneers, settlers, and everyday citizens. Yet beneath the surface of historical learning, the building holds a darker, more enigmatic side. For decades, employees, researchers, and visitors have reported strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, unexplained whispers, and shadowy figures that seem to linger in the halls. Many believe that the restless spirits of Oregon's past continue to roam within the museum, their presence subtly threading through the exhibits and archives. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves books and artifacts seemingly defying gravity. Visitors in the reading rooms and archival stacks have recounted the chilling experience of books falling from shelves without warning. Sometimes a single volume topples, while other times multiple books cascade to the floor, creating a sudden and unnerving noise in otherwise quiet spaces. Archivists, working late into the night, have described the sensation of being watched as they pull records from shelves, only to have items slip from their hands or shift slightly, as if guided by an unseen presence. These incidents are often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, giving a physical weight to the invisible forces at work. Whispers are another common report among staff and guests. These are rarely loud or clear. Rather, they manifest as faint voices echoing through hallways, exhibition rooms, and storage areas. Some describe them as murmurs, repeating phrases that are impossible to fully decipher, while others hear names being spoken softly, almost as if someone is calling them from the past. Often, these sounds occur in areas containing particularly historic documents, letters, diaries, and photographs from the 19th century, leading some to speculate that the spirits of long-departed Oregonians are attempting to communicate or make their presence known. Shadowy figures add yet another layer of unease to the Oregon Historical Society. Visitors report glimpses of indistinct shapes moving along corridors or pausing near exhibits before vanishing. These shadows rarely have discernible features, but their presence is unmistakable, creating a feeling of being followed or observed. Some staff members claim that these figures seem drawn to areas where tragedies or significant historical events are documented, suggesting that the energy of the past continues to imprint itself upon the present. In one frequently cited account, a researcher working late in a back hallway saw a figure in period clothing walk past an open doorway, only to disappear when they attempted to follow it, leaving behind a chill that lingered long after. The museum's architecture and layout contribute to the eerie experiences reported. Narrow hallways, dimly lit staircases, and echoing archival rooms create an environment where small sounds are amplified and shadows play tricks on the eye. At night, when the building is largely empty, the creaking of floors, the rustle of papers, and the hum of heating systems can take on a life of their own, blending with the reported paranormal activity to heighten the sense of mystery. Visitors frequently note that certain areas feel heavier, almost oppressive, as though the weight of the past is physically pressing down upon them. One of the most compelling stories comes from the archival research rooms. Archivists, working late into the night, have described stacks of historical documents shifting on their own, sometimes opening to pages with particular significance, letters describing hardships, tragedies, or untimely deaths. Some staff interpret these occurrences as the spirits of Oregon as pioneers and early citizens attempting to draw attention to their lives, ensuring that their stories are not forgotten. Others suggest that the activity may be residual, echoes of events so strongly imprinted on the location that they continue to replay in subtle, spectral ways. Visitors exploring the museum during open hours occasionally encounter phenomena as well. Many report sudden chills in rooms that should be warm, or a distinct feeling of someone standing nearby even when alone. Lights flicker in certain exhibits, particularly those showcasing historical artifacts connected to tragic events, such as illnesses, accidents, or violent encounters. Shapes that seem to move independently of any person or object present. These experiences, while unsettling, are often described as quietly compelling rather than overtly threatening, inviting a sense of connection to the past rather than fear alone. The Oregon Historical Society's reputation for paranormal activity has attracted curiosity seekers and paranormal investigators alike. Those exploring the museum after hours often bring audio and video equipment, hoping to capture evidence of the unseen. Many report recordings of faint voices, unexplained noises, and strange visual anomalies. Investigators consistently note that the most active areas are those linked to intense historical moment spaces, where lives were marked by struggle, ambition, or tragedy. In some cases, the activity seems focused on particular individuals, their presence lingering decades or even centuries later. Despite or perhaps because of its haunted reputation, the museum continues to welcome visitors. The dual nature of the Oregon Historical Society, as both a place of learning and a site of unexplained occurrences, adds a unique depth to the experience. Guests leave with more than just knowledge of Oregon's past. They carry with them a sense that the lives and stories preserved within the building are still very much alive in an ethereal way. In the end, the Oregon Historical Society stands as a testament to history in every sense, not only through the artifacts and documents it preserves, but also through the lingering presence of those who came before. For those who walk its halls, the museum offers a rare opportunity to feel the intersection of past and present, to glimpse shadows of lives long gone, and to hear the whispers of a history that refuses to be silent. Each cold draft, shifting book, and shadowed figure serves as a reminder that some stories are never truly finished, echoing through time and inviting the curious to witness the unseen world alongside the recorded one. The Whitney and Gray Building in Portland stands as a solemn monument to both architectural grandeur and human tragedy. Erected in the early 20th century, this historic structure was once a bustling hub of commerce and social activity. Its ornate facades, high ceilings, and expansive hallways reflected the ambitions of a city growing rapidly into modernity. Yet, behind the elegance lies a far darker history, events that have left an indelible mark on its atmosphere. Today, while largely vacant, the Whitney and Gray Building draws both urban explorers and paranormal enthusiasts, drawn not only to its architectural beauty but to the eerie tales whispered about its shadowed halls. Those who venture into the building frequently report sudden, unexplained cold spots. Walkers may enter a room on a mild day, only to be met with a sharp, icy chill that seems to cling to the skin, such as upper-floor offices where employees once worked late into the night, or corners where individuals tragically ended their lives. The temperature drop is immediate and localized, creating a physical reminder of the building's unsettling past. Visitors describe the sensation as unnerving and pervasive, a sudden awareness that something unseen is nearby. Shadowy figures are another consistent feature reported within the Whitney and Gray Building. Witnesses often see movement at the edge of their vision, dark shapes that appear to linger near stairwells or along long hallways. These forms are rarely clear, instead appearing as silhouettes that shift or fade when directly observed. Some have described seeing figures standing silently at the end of corridors, or leaning against walls, their presence palpable yet impossible to fully comprehend. In many cases, these shadows seem to mirror the energy of human emotion, reflecting sorrow, despair, or unresolved tension. Footsteps are perhaps the most chilling of the building's paranormal phenomena. Guests frequently report hearing the sound of shoes tapping across empty floors, echoing through hallways where no one else is present. The footsteps often follow a rhythm, suggesting someone pacing or moving with purpose, and they stop abruptly as if the unseen occupant has vanished. Sometimes the footsteps ascend staircases or approach rooms just before other phenomena occur, such as a door swinging open on its own or a faint whisper carried on the air. The unpredictability of these occurrences intensifies the sense of unease, leaving witnesses with the unmistakable impression that the building itself is alive with memory and emotion. Doors and windows also contribute to the haunting atmosphere. Many visitors recount the unsettling experience of doors opening or closing without explanation, often with a slow, deliberate motion. Heavy wooden doors that were once firmly shut may creak open by themselves, sometimes accompanied by a soft, almost imperceptible sound, like a sigh or a whisper. Windows, too, have been known to rattle or shift despite the absence of wind, adding an additional layer of auditory disquiet to the already charged environment. These subtle movements reinforce the perception that the building is not entirely empty, that unseen presences remain intimately tied to the spaces they once occupied. The history of the building itself amplifies the feeling of dread. Over its long existence, the Whitney and Gray building has witnessed both the highs and lows of human experience. The commercial offices were sites of ambition and professional achievement, but they also became settings for personal despair and tragedy. Accounts of suicides from upper floors, fatal accidents, and other untimely deaths are part of the building's legacy, leaving behind residual energy that many believe manifests as paranormal activity. This history transforms ordinary explorations into a deeply atmospheric and emotionally charged experience, where the past seems to press against the present in subtle, often unsettling ways. Several paranormal investigators have explored the Whitney and Gray building in recent years, capturing evidence that reinforces the building's eerie reputation. EVP recordings often contain whispers or unintelligible voices, sometimes reacting to the investigator's presence or questions. Cameras set up in hallways occasionally reveal orbs, shadows, or fleeting movements that cannot be explained by natural phenomena. Even experienced investigators describe the sensation of being watched, or the feeling that their presence is acknowledged by unseen entities, lending credence to stories passed down over decades. Visitors themselves frequently describe encounters that leave a lasting impression. Some report feeling a presence brush past them or a sudden, inexplicable pressure on their shoulders. Others recount glimpses of a figure in period clothing standing at the end of a hallway, vanishing when approached. Cold drafts, the rhythmic echo of footsteps, and the subtle creaking of doors combine to create an environment that is both haunting and captivating, inviting curiosity while simultaneously inspiring caution. The largely vacant state of the Whitney and Gray building contributes to its spectral reputation. Empty hallways, dim lighting, and the natural acoustics of the structure amplify even minor sounds, making every creak, whisper, or footstep feel significant. In the silence, the building's architecture becomes a conduit for the residual energies of its past occupants, allowing the tragedies and memories embedded within its walls to surface in perceptible ways. Despite tour perhaps because of its unsettling history, the Whitney and Gray building remains a point of fascination. Its combination of historical significance, architectural beauty, and paranormal activity draws a wide range of visitors, from historians and urban explorers to ghost hunters eager to document the unexplained. Each encounter adds a new layer to the building's narrative, weaving together history and legend in a tapestry of memory, mystery, and fear. Ultimately, the Whitney and Gray building is more than just an abandoned structure in Portland. It is a silent witness to decades of human ambition, despair, and untimely death. The cold spots, shadow figures, echoing footsteps, and moving doors serve as reminders that the energy of the past can linger, shaping the atmosphere and leaving an indelible mark on anyone who enters. For those who walk its empty corridors, the experience is unforgettably a place where history and the supernatural intersect, and where the unseen continues to observe the living. St. Mary's Cathedral in Portland is a place of reverence, architectural beauty, and solemn history. Its soaring ceilings, intricate stained glass windows, and meticulously carved woodwork have long drawn worshippers and visitors alike. But beyond the sacred rituals and the quiet echo of prayer, St. Mary's holds a darker legacy. Over the decades, the cathedral has been the site of mysterious deaths and inexplicable events, giving rise to stories of paranormal activity that continue to intrigue and unsettle those who enter its hallowed halls. Visitors, clergy, and historians alike have reported eerie phenomena, shadowy figures drifting near the altar, sudden gusts of cold air, and objects moving inexplicably, as though the building itself is a conduit between the living and the unknown. Among the most commonly reported phenomena are sightings of shadow figures. These dark, indistinct forms are most often seen near the altar, the choir loft, and the massive pipe organ that dominates the cathedral's interior. Witnesses describe the shapes as human-like, but featureless, appearing and disappearing with no clear pattern or explanation. Some report feeling a presence standing just behind them, only to turn and see empty space, while others recount glimpsing figures moving across the pews or near the corners of the cathedral, vanishing when approached. The shadows are often accompanied by a feeling of being observed, a sensation that leaves visitors tense and hyper-aware of every sound and movement within the space. Sudden gusts of cold air are another frequent occurrence, even on warm days or in enclosed areas shielded from drafts. Visitors have reported sharp, localized chills that seem to emanate from nowhere. These bursts of cold are often felt near the altar, the sacristy, and the organ loft, places with historical significance in the cathedral's life. The chill is not subtle. Many describe it as a sudden shock to the body, sometimes accompanied by goosebumps or an unsettling pressure in the chest. Clergy and visitors alike have noted that these gusts often coincide with other unusual phenomena, suggesting an interaction between the unseen presence and those exploring the cathedral. Objects moving without explanation further contribute to the cathedral's eerie reputation. Candlesticks, books, and even small religious artifacts have been observed shifting positions, sometimes falling from shelves or altering their alignment on tables. Some witnesses describe seeing a book slide across a table or a rosary swing gently as if handled by an invisible hand. These occurrences are typically subtle, yet frequent enough to draw attention and concern. Those who work or volunteer at St. Mary's often report that these events happen more often during quiet hours, particularly late at night or early in the morning, when the cathedral is empty and the usual sounds of daily life have faded. The cathedral's history offers context for these strange experiences. Since its construction, St. Mary's has been a central site for community life in Portland, hosting baptisms, weddings, funerals, and countless other ceremonies. However, records indicate that the cathedral has also been the site of untimely and mysterious deaths. These events, though sparse in documentation, have left a lingering presence in the memories of the building. Over time, it is believed that the emotional intensity surrounding these tragedies may have imprinted upon the structure itself, creating conditions for the paranormal activity reported by modern visitors. The organ loft, in particular, is a hotspot for unexplained phenomena. The massive pipe organ, once a source of magnificent music filling the cathedral, seems to be a focal point for spectral activity. Musicians and visitors alike have reported hearing the organ play faint, haunting notes when no one is present. Sometimes the sounds are described as a soft melody, almost ethereal, while other times it is a discordant, eerie tone that fills the surrounding space. Alongside these auditory anomalies, shadow figures are frequently sighted near the loft, their presence amplifying the sense of unease and reinforcing the impression that the cathedral is alive with memories of the past. Even the pews and hallways seem to hold their own residual energy. Footsteps echo through empty corridors, and soft, indistinct murmurs can sometimes be heard, especially during evening visits or private tours. These sounds are often fleeting, vanishing when attention is fully directed toward them, leaving those present questioning whether they truly heard anything at all. Many visitors recount the sensation of being watched or feeling a gentle brush against their arm or shoulder, even when completely alone. Such experiences add a tactile dimension to the haunting, making the activity more immediate and affecting. Paranormal investigators who have explored St. Mary's Cathedral frequently document these occurrences with audio and visual equipment. Electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, often reveal faint whispers, some seemingly responding to questions asked by investigators. For those who enter with an open mind, the evidence collected at St. Mary's suggests that the spirits of the past, whether of former parishioners, clergy, or victims of tragic events, remain tethered to the cathedral, quietly observing the living and maintaining a subtle presence in the building. Despite its unsettling aspects, St. Mary's continues to welcome visitors. Its stunning architecture, rich history, and spiritual significance make it a vital part of Portland's cultural landscape. Yet, For those who take the time to explore the cathedral beyond its surface beauty, the experience is often tinged with an awareness of the unseen. The cold drafts, shadow figures, faint music from the organ, and moving objects serve as constant reminders that St. Mary's is more than just a historical site. It is a living repository of memories, emotions, and lingering spirits. Ultimately, St. Mary's Cathedral is a place where the past intersects with the present, where history and the paranormal coexist in ways that are both subtle and undeniable. Visitors leave not only with a deeper understanding of Portland's heritage, but also with the lingering sensation that the cathedral continues to hold the stories, sorrows, and perhaps even the watchful eyes of those who came before. Its echoes of footsteps, music, and shadows invite all who enter to consider the unseen world alongside the seen, and to experience the haunting beauty of a place where the sacred and the supernatural meet. St. Mary's Cathedral in Portland is an architectural gem, a place of reverence and historical significance. Yet beneath its serene exterior lies a history steeped in mystery and inexplicable occurrences. Constructed in the late 19th century, the cathedral's soaring ceilings, elaborate stained glass windows, and ornate woodwork have long attracted worshippers, historians, and curious visitors alike. Over the decades, however, St. Mary's has become known not only for its spiritual and cultural importance, but also for its haunted reputation. Numerous reports tell of shadow figures lingering near the altar and organ, sudden gusts of cold air that sweep through empty halls, and objects moving as if guided by unseen hands. Many who visit speak of a palpable sense of presence, an energy that feels both watchful and unsettling. The most frequently reported phenomenon within the cathedral involves shadowy figures. Witnesses often describe dark, human-like silhouettes drifting near the altar, the choir loft, or around the massive pipe organ. These figures rarely show any distinct features, instead appearing as black, undefined shapes that vanish when approached. Visitors recount sudden glimpses from the corner of their eyes, figures appearing and disappearing as if the walls themselves were alive. Some report feeling a presence behind them, a weight on the senses that gives the impression of being observed. Yet when they turn, the space is empty. These shadows are often linked to areas where tragic events occurred, leading many to believe they are manifestations of past lives or souls unsettled by untimely deaths. Cold spots are another common and disconcerting experience. Visitors often find that certain areas of the cathedral, particularly near the altar, the organ loft, or the side chapels, suddenly drop in temperature without any natural explanation. Even on warm days or in spaces shielded from drafts, these icy gusts can chill the air and send shivers down the spine. Many describe these cold pockets as intense and localized, a physical reminder that something unseen is present. Clergy, staff, and late-night visitors frequently report that these gusts often precede other paranormal activity, such as flickering lights, moving objects, or the faint sound of music echoing through the nave. Objects themselves seem to respond to the unseen energies within St. Mary's Cathedral. Candlesticks, books, and other artifacts have been observed shifting or falling without cause. Some witnesses describe a book sliding across a table or a rosary, moving gently as if handled by invisible hands. Candles occasionally extinguish on their own or flicker violently despite the absence of wind. These phenomena are subtle but unnerving, reinforcing the sense that the cathedral is not merely a building but a space imbued with lingering memories and unresolved energy. The cathedral's pipe organ has a particularly storied reputation. Visitors and staff report hearing faint notes played when no one is present. Sometimes the sound is melodic, soft, and hauntingly beautiful, while other times it is discordant and eerie, reverberating through the empty halls. These auditory anomalies often accompany sightings of shadow figures or sudden cold drafts, creating a multisensory experience that feels both intimate and disquieting. Musicians and tour guides have recounted instances where the organ plays for several minutes before abruptly stopping, leaving an echoing silence that magnifies the feeling of otherworldly presence. Footsteps and whispers add another layer to the cathedral's mysterious aura. echoing down empty corridors or along the long aisles of the nave. The sound of shoes tapping on the stone floor often follows visitors as they explore. Whispers, too, are commonly reported soft, unintelligible murmurs that seem to emanate from the walls themselves. Many describe these voices as fleeting, vanishing when attention is focused on discerning them. In some cases, visitors have reported hearing their own names spoken softly, or hearing phrases reminiscent of sermons or prayers from centuries past. These auditory experiences, combined with visual and tactile phenomena, create an environment where the past feels vividly present. Historical events further explain the cathedral's eerie reputation. Throughout its long history, St. Mary's has witnessed both profound joy and deep sorrow. Baptisms, weddings, and community gatherings took place alongside tragedies, including unexplained deaths and accidents within the building. Records indicate that several deaths occurred during routine activities or private moments, leaving an emotional imprint that may have contributed to the lingering paranormal activity. The intensity of human emotion, the grief, fear, and despair experienced by those who lived and died within its walls seems to have left an indelible mark, influencing the experiences of modern visitors. Even during public hours, the cathedral's energy is often described as unusually heavy or charged. Some visitors report feeling a presence standing nearby or experiencing sudden unease in otherwise peaceful areas. Candles flicker inexplicably, shadows shift in the periphery of vision, and occasional noises, creaks, bangs, or distant thuds add to the sense that the building itself is alive. Paranormal investigators who have explored St. Mary's with audio and video equipment frequently capture evidence of the unexplained, including fleeting shadows, orbs of light, and faint voices recorded on electronic devices. These findings suggest that the spirits of the past may not only linger, but actively interact with those who enter the cathedral. Despite its haunting nature, St. Mary's Cathedral remains a cherished landmark. Its architectural beauty, historical significance, and spiritual presence continue to draw visitors from around the world. However, those who take the time to explore the building beyond its surface are often met with a different kind of experience, one where the weight of history, the lingering presence of souls long gone, and the subtle, unexplained phenomena converge to create an atmosphere both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Ultimately, St. Mary's Cathedral is a place where the seen and unseen coexist. Shadow figures, gusts of cold air, moving objects, and the echo of footsteps all serve as reminders that the past is never truly gone. For visitors, the cathedral offers not only a window into Portland's spiritual and architectural heritage, but also a haunting glimpse of the lingering energy of those who came before. Its walls, filled with history and mystery, invite all who enter to witness the intersection of the sacred and the supernatural, creating an experience that is both unforgettable and profoundly unsettling. Beneath the quiet streets of Lake Oswego lies a hidden labyrinth, a network of abandoned tunnels that whisper secrets of the past. Originally carved for mining operations in the late 19th century, these tunnels later became a haven for illicit activity during Prohibition, hiding smuggled goods and providing secret passageways for those avoiding the law. Today, the tunnels remain largely forgotten, yet they are far from empty. Visitors and paranormal enthusiasts report chilling phenomena that suggest the tunnels have retained the memories, and perhaps the spirits of those who once used them. One of the most common experiences reported in the Lake Oswego tunnels is the sound of ghostly footsteps. Many who explore the passageways alone describe hearing the echo of boots or shoes trailing behind them, only for the sound to stop when they turn around. The footsteps are often rhythmic, deliberate, and human in cadence, giving the distinct impression that someone or something is walking the tunnels alongside the visitor. In some cases, multiple sets of steps are reported, as if a group of unseen figures moves just out of sight. These sounds are unnerving, especially in the oppressive darkness of the abandoned tunnels, where the walls seem to close in and the air grows thick with the weight of history. Whispers are another unsettling hallmark of the Lake Oswego tunnels. Visitors often report hearing soft voices, sometimes speaking words or phrases that are almost intelligible, sometimes merely murmuring without clear meaning. These whispers seem to come from the very walls, echoing down long corridors and turning corners in ways that defy the natural acoustics of the tunnels. Some claim the voices call their names or mimic snippets of conversations from the past, a phenomenon that can leave even the most skeptical explorers on edge. The whispers are often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, as if the air itself is charged with the presence of the unseen. Shadow figures are frequently encountered as well. Witnesses describe fleeting, human-like shapes darting along the tunnel walls or vanishing through solid surfaces. These apparitions are often peripheral, seen from the corner of the eye, but their presence is undeniable. Some explorers recount turning quickly to face the shadows, only to find the space empty, as though the figures exist on the threshold between the physical world and some other dimension. The sense of being watched is pervasive, adding a layer of psychological tension that makes every sound and movement feel amplified. Even small, seemingly mundane disturbances, a shifting rock, a loose board creaking underfoot can feel like the deliberate act of a hidden presence. The tunnel's history provides context for these eerie experiences. During their mining days, the confined space and the constant danger of collapse created a tense environment where fear was a daily companion. Later, during Prohibition, smugglers moved contraband through these passages, often under the threat of violence or arrest. Those who worked in secrecy here were forced to live and operate under intense stress, sometimes facing injury or death in the narrow, poorly ventilated corridors. Over time, it seems that the echoes of fear, desperation, and clandestine activity may have left an imprint on the tunnels, creating conditions that allow these paranormal phenomena to persist. Visitors report that the activity in the tunnels is heightened during nighttime explorations. In total darkness, the senses are sharpened, and the walls seem to close in, amplifying every sound and movement. Footsteps grow louder, whispers more distinct, and shadows more elusive. Some have reported the sensation of a cold hand brushing their shoulder, or a fleeting pressure against their back, as if an unseen guide or a restless spirit is moving through the tunnels with them. These tactile encounters are brief but memorable, leaving a lingering sense of unease long after the visitor has emerged into the open air above. Paranormal investigators frequently document activity in the Lake Oswego tunnels with audio and visual equipment. Recordings sometimes capture unexplained sounds, footsteps that echo without a source, whispers in languages or dialects no longer spoken in the region, and faint knocks or taps from the walls. Cameras occasionally record fleeting shadows or anomalies of light that vanish when revisited, further reinforcing the impression that the tunnels are alive with lingering presences. Many investigators have commented on the oppressive energy that seems to saturate the underground network, describing it as heavier than the ambient air, a palpable weight that affects both mind and body. Despite the fear that the tunnels evoke, they continue to draw adventurers, history enthusiasts, and those seeking paranormal encounters. The combination of historical intrigue and supernatural activity makes them a compelling destination for those willing to face the unknown. But the tunnels are not to be taken lightly. The labyrinthine passages are dark, uneven, and potentially hazardous. And the stories of unexplained phenomena serve as a warning that the tunnels are far more than an abandoned relic. They are a space where the past remains vividly present, sometimes brushing against those who dare to enter. In the end, the Lake Oswego tunnels are a place where history and the paranormal intersect. Footsteps echo from long-dead miners and Prohibition-era smugglers. Whispers of the past drift through the air, and shadow figures flit along the walls as if carrying secrets from another time. Those who explore the tunnels leave with more than a glimpse of history. They experience the lingering presence of lives once lived in secrecy, fear, and desperation. The tunnels are a testament to the idea that some places retain the memories of those who walk them, where every echo, shadow, and chill is a reminder that the past is never truly gone. And and that the unseen world often lingers just beneath the surface, waiting to be noticed. The Tillamook Forest in Oregon is renowned for its towering Douglas firs, lush greenery, and serene hiking trails. But beneath its natural beauty lies a darker, haunting side. For generations, locals and visitors have whispered about the spirits that linger among the dense trees, remnants of the tragedies and accidents that have marked the forest's history. From logging mishaps to unexplained deaths, the forest has earned a reputation as a place where the living and the departed seem to coexist. At the Tillamook Forest Center, which serves as a gateway to the area, stories of paranormal activity abound, drawing the curious and the brave alike to explore the mysteries hidden among the shadows of the woods. The forest itself is vast and labyrinthine, with trails weaving through thick underbrush and steep hillsides. Hikers and campers frequently report experiencing sudden cold drafts that seem out of place, especially on warm, sunny days. These abrupt chills often leave visitors shivering, sometimes accompanied by the sensation of being watched. Many describe the feeling as oppressive, as if unseen eyes are tracking every movement. Some have even claimed that the air itself seems heavier in certain parts of the forest, almost as though the memories of past tragedies have settled into the soil and trees, creating an invisible weight that presses upon anyone who enters. Disembodied voices are among the most commonly reported phenomena. Visitors often recount hearing whispers, calling out names, or fragments of conversation in areas where no one else is present. These voices sometimes echo through the forest for long distances, fading and reappearing unexpectedly. Hikers have reported hearing urgent shouts or cries for help in the dead of night, only to find the forest empty when they try to locate the source. The voices are particularly unsettling because they seem to mimic the emotions of the past: fear, panic, or despair, leaving those who hear them with an unshakable sense that the forest remembers every accident, every loss, and every soul that has met an untimely end. Shadowy figures are also frequently sighted among the trees. Witnesses describe vague, human-like shapes moving just beyond their line of sight, often disappearing when approached. These apparitions appear fleetingly at first, glimpsed from the corner of the eye, but sometimes linger long enough to instill genuine fear. In some cases, hikers report seeing figures dressed in outdated clothing or work attire, suggesting that they are the remnants of loggers who perished during the forest's early logging days. The sense of presence is so strong that even experienced outdoorsmen admit to feeling unnerved or compelled to leave areas where the shadows are most active. Historical events in the Tillamook Forest help explain its reputation for hauntings. Logging in the early 20th century was an extremely dangerous occupation. The forest's steep terrain, unpredictable weather, and the heavy machinery of the era led to countless accidents, leaving a trail of fatalities. Stories persist of loggers crushed by falling timber, lost during treacherous climbs, or trapped in machinery. Locals speak of these individual spirits remaining in the forest, bound to the sites of their demise. Beyond logging, the forest has also been the site of unexplained deaths and disappearances over the decades. Some speculate that the dense trees and foggy conditions have hidden more than just wildlife, preserving secrets that still echo through the woods. The Tillamook Forest Center itself has become a hub for those seeking to experience or document these paranormal phenomena. Staff and visitors alike report sudden, inexplicable noises, footsteps on empty paths, rustling sounds in areas without wind, and doors creaking in the unoccupied center. In some cases, visitors claim to have seen fleeting shapes dart across hallways or glimpsed figures standing silently in the corner of their vision. Even when lights are on and the building is fully occupied, many feel a presence that is impossible to attribute to the living. Photographs taken within the forest and around the center sometimes reveal anomalies: misty shapes among trees, faint silhouettes that vanish upon a second glance, or orbs of light hovering over trails. These images have fueled speculation that the forest is a hotspot of paranormal energy, a place where the veil between the living and the dead is exceptionally thin. Paranormal investigators who have explored the forest at night frequently report electronic anomalies on recording devices, suggesting a connection between trauma and lingering spiritual presence. Visitors who spend time alone in the deeper areas of the forest often describe a feeling of being guided or watched by unseen entities. Some report glimpsing figures partially obscured by fog, or seeing fleeting shapes among the towering trees. Others have described hearing a soft, sorrowful cry just beyond the edge of visibility, leaving them with a sense of urgency or unease. Even those who enter the forest during the day report that the shadows grow more pronounced in certain areas, and the sense of being observed is impossible to shake. Despite the fear that the forest can evoke, many people are drawn to Tillamook for its history, beauty, and mystery. The combination of natural wonder and paranormal activity creates an experience that is both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Visitors leave with stories that blend the tangible and the spectral. The beauty of towering trees, juxtaposed with whispers of the past, sudden chills in otherwise warm weather, and shadowy figures that vanish into the mist. Ultimately, the Tillamook Forest and its center are a place where the natural and supernatural coexist. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind, and every shadow among the trees is a reminder of lives once lived and the tragedies that left their mark. Those who enter the forest encounter more than just nature. They step into a living memory, where spirits linger, stories unfold, and the past is never truly gone. In this dense, misty landscape, visitors are reminded that even in the most beautiful places, darkness can remain, waiting quietly for those who dare to notice. Fort Stevens State Park in Hammond, Oregon, is not only a place of historical military significance, but also a hotspot for paranormal activity that has intrigued visitors and investigators alike. The park sits on the northern coast of the state, guarding the mouth of the Columbia River, and was once a key military installation during several conflicts, including the Civil War, World War I, and World War II. Its bunkers, gun emplacements, and decaying buildings stand as silent witnesses to decades of military operations. Yet, beneath the surface of history and sand, Fort Stevens holds a darker presence, one that continues to linger in shadowed corners, echoing through the abandoned structures and chilling those who dare to explore its grounds. Many who visit Fort Stevens report experiences that defy rational explanation. Phantom footsteps are among the most frequently cited phenomena. Walkers along the perimeter of the old bunkers or inside the remaining barracks often hear the unmistakable rhythm of boots or shoes on concrete and wooden floors, even when no one else is present. Sometimes the footsteps seem to follow visitors, echoing off walls and metal, then suddenly stopping as if the phantom soldiers have disappeared into thin air. This repetitive, ghostly pacing contributes to a sense that the old fort is still actively patrolled by unseen military personnel, lingering in the routines established decades ago. Shadowy figures are also common in reports from Fort Stevens. Visitors frequently describe seeing human-like silhouettes moving along corridors, appearing on observation decks, or wandering near the remains of the gun emplacements. These figures are often out of the corner of the eye, vanishing when directly confronted, yet leaving a lasting impression of presence. Some have claimed to witness what appears to be soldiers in period uniforms, patrolling in formation or standing silently at attention, as if frozen in time. Such sightings create an eerie atmosphere, as the living are reminded of the fort's operational past and the men who once served there. Eerie voices are another recurring element of paranormal accounts. Disembodied shouts, murmurs, and commands have been reported, often echoing through the empty barracks and bunkers. Witnesses describe hearing phrases such as "fall in" or "all clear" in the middle of the night or during quiet afternoons. In some cases, the voices are more indistinct, low murmur of conversation between unseen soldiers or whispers that seem to follow visitors down corridors. Many report that the intensity of these sounds fluctuates, sometimes rising abruptly, creating a sudden sense of alarm or urgency, as though the fort itself is reacting to unseen events. The haunted energy of Fort Stevens is believed to be linked closely to its long and often tumultuous history. Originally constructed to defend the Pacific Northwest, The fort saw countless soldiers passing through its gates, many enduring harsh conditions, strict discipline, and the stress of wartime service. Over the decades, some soldiers perished due to training accidents, illness, or even combat readiness exercises, leaving residual energy in the spaces where they once lived and worked. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that these intense emotional imprints, fear duty, and the stress of military life have remained, manifesting as audible and visual phenomena for those who enter the fort's abandoned areas. Visitors report that certain locations within Fort Stevens are particularly active. The old gun emplacements overlooking the Columbia River are a common sight for both visual and auditory anomalies. Many describe hearing the creak of levers and metal as though artillery is being prepared, though all machinery has long since been decommissioned. In the barracks and officers' quarters, unexplained footsteps, doors creaking, and sudden temperature drops create a palpable sense of being watched. Some explorers claim to feel a presence standing close behind them, only to turn and find the hallways empty, leaving an unsettling chill that seems to linger long after they leave the fort. Photography and audio recordings at Fort Stevens occasionally capture anomalies that cannot be easily explained. Shadowy shapes sometimes appear on camera where no one is present, and electronic voice phenomena, EVP, have been recorded, with whispers and commands emerging from static or faint background noise. Paranormal investigators note that these occurrences often happen near areas of historical significance, suggesting that the fort itself may hold on to the energy of the soldiers who once occupied it. The combination of decaying structures, metal surfaces, and historical trauma seems to create a unique environment where the boundary between the living and the departed feels thin. Some visitors even report tactile experiences, such as the sensation of a hand lightly resting on their shoulder or a sudden brush of air against their skin, as if a soldier has momentarily entered the physical plane. These encounters, while brief, often leave witnesses profoundly unsettled. Many report a heightened sense of awareness in the fort, as though the spirits are present but restrained, silently performing the duties they once carried out in life. Despite its haunted reputation, Fort Stevens remains a popular destination for history enthusiasts, hikers, and paranormal investigators. The combination of coastal beauty, military history, and lingering supernatural activity draws people seeking both education and the thrill of the unknown. Visitors often leave with a mixture of awe and unease, carrying stories of footsteps, shadows, and whispers that continue to echo in their memories. Ultimately, Fort Stevens State Park is more than a historical site. It is a living testament to the men who served, suffered, and died there. The abandoned bunkers and gun emplacements hold the weight of decades, their presence felt in sudden chills, shadowy figures, and the faintest echoes of commands once shouted across the grounds. Those who explore the fort are reminded that history is not always confined to books and photographs. Sometimes it lingers in the very air, whispering stories of duty, tragedy, and restless spirits, waiting to be noticed by those willing to step into the shadows. The Governor Hotel in Portland, Oregon, stands as a symbol of historic elegance. Yet, beneath its grand chandeliers and ornate architecture lies a legacy of unsettling paranormal activity. Since its opening, guests and staff have reported strange occurrences that defy explanation, making the hotel a destination not only for travelers seeking luxury, but also for those drawn by its haunted reputation. Over the decades, stories of moving objects, shadowy figures, and eerie whispers have emerged, painting a picture of a building alive with unseen presences that linger long after the last guest has checked out. Visitors to the Governor Hotel often recount subtle but unnerving experiences, beginning with a feeling that they are not entirely alone. Many describe a distinct sensation of being watched, especially in the upper floors and older wings of the building. This feeling is often accompanied by sudden chills, inexplicable breezes, or the soft rustle of fabric or footsteps when no one else is present. For some, the sense of presence is enough to make them pause mid-step, turning quickly to find empty hallways and silent rooms. Yet, the unease lingers, as though the hotel itself is observing and interacting with them in ways that cannot be explained by ordinary means. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves objects moving without cause. Guests have found doors slightly ajar after closing them, chairs shifted from their original positions, or personal belongings displaced. These incidents are often subtle: a pin rolled off a desk, a tray of glasses tipped over, or a book sliding across a nightstand. But their recurrence has convinced many that some unseen force is at work. Housekeeping staff have also noted that items they meticulously arranged during the day are often found in different positions the next morning. Despite being in secured rooms, the inexplicable movement of objects adds a tangible, physical element to the haunting, making the presence of the unseen feel more immediate and real. Shadowy figures are among the most striking aspects of the hotel's paranormal activity. Guests frequently report seeing dark shapes moving through corridors or standing silently at the foot of their beds. These figures are rarely fully visible. They appear as vague silhouettes or forms that vanish when approached. Some have described seeing individuals dressed in early 20th century attire, suggesting that the spirits may be linked to the hotel's long history and the many people who have passed through its doors. Witnesses often feel a sudden drop in temperature or an overwhelming sense of dread when encountering these apparitions, reinforcing the notion that the building itself is inhabited by restless spirits. Whispers and unexplained sounds are also common. Visitors frequently report hearing their names called softly, murmurs of conversation in empty rooms, or the faint echo of footsteps in hallways that are otherwise deserted. These auditory phenomena are particularly unsettling because they appear to respond to the presence of living occupants, often stopping abruptly when approached. In some cases, guests have heard low, mournful cries or laughter that seems to come from nowhere, creating an atmosphere of tension and uncertainty. Even during busy times, when the hotel is filled with activity, these sounds are distinct and unaccountable, leading many to conclude that the voices belong to entities from another time. The hotel's history may provide clues to the origin of these hauntings. Opened during an era of opulence, the Governor Hotel has hosted countless travelers, events, and notable figures. Over its long existence, it has also witnessed tragedy, including sudden deaths and personal misfortunes among its guests and staff. The combination of historical significance, high emotional energy, and the passage of time seems to have left an imprint on the building, allowing echoes of the past to manifest in the present. Paranormal investigators often point to such locations as particularly susceptible to lingering spirits, where past emotions, regrets, and unfinished business continue to resonate in physical spaces. Many paranormal enthusiasts have visited the Governor Hotel to document its activity, and some report capturing visual and auditory anomalies. Photographs occasionally reveal faint shapes or shadowy outlines that are absent from the room when examined directly. Audio recordings have picked up whispers, footsteps, and subtle noises that defy explanation. These experiences have only added to the hotel's mystique, attracting those who are curious about the supernatural and those who wish to confront it firsthand. Personal encounters with the hotel's spirits vary in intensity. Some guests describe fleeting sensations: a brush of air, a sudden sense of presence, while others have more dramatic experiences, such as seeing a figure disappear through a wall or feeling a hand graze their shoulder when no one else is nearby. The unpredictability of these occurrences creates a tense atmosphere, where even a casual walk through the hallways can feel charged with unseen energy. Staff and long-term employees often become accustomed to the oddities, but newcomers or tourists frequently report feeling unnerved, compelled to leave certain areas quickly or avoid them altogether. Despite its haunted reputation, the Governor Hotel remains a cherished Portland landmark, blending historical charm with a touch of the supernatural. Its elegance and architectural beauty draw visitors from around the world, while its ghostly legends attract those seeking encounters with the unexplained. Many leave with a mixture of awe and trepidation, recounting experiences that range from subtle chills and fleeting shadows to unmistakable evidence of an active, unseen presence. Ultimately, the Governor Hotel is a place where history and the paranormal intersect. The moving objects, shadowy figures, and whispers in the dark remind visitors that the past is never truly gone and that the building itself holds memories of those who walked its halls long before. Guests who enter the Governor Hotel are not merely staying in a historic building, they are stepping into a space where the living and the unseen coexist, where every creak, cold, draft, and shadow tells the story of a presence that refuses to be ignored. Marylhurst University, located in Marylhurst, Oregon, holds a unique place in both educational and paranormal history. Though now closed, the campus was once a vibrant center of learning and spiritual reflection. Originally founded as a convent before expanding into a college, its Gothic-style architecture, quiet courtyards, and long, narrow hallways give the campus a sense of solemnity that persists even after its closure. Yet, beneath a surface of academic life and religious devotion lies a darker, more enigmatic presence. Visitors to the deserted campus often report experiences that defy explanation. From ghostly footsteps echoing in empty corridors to the sound of chanting that seems to come from nowhere. The lingering energy of Marylhurst has made it a place of fascination for both paranormal enthusiasts and curious explorers. Many of the reported phenomena center around the campus buildings themselves, particularly the older structures that date back to the convent era. Walkways and hallways that once bustled with students and nuns now stand silent, yet the echoes of the past seem to remain. Visitors often describe hearing footsteps in these deserted corridors, the rhythmic tap of shoes or sandals on polished floors when no one else is present. Sometimes the sounds are soft and distant, like someone pacing in the far end of a hallway. Other times they appear to follow visitors as they move through the building, stopping abruptly when approached. This repetitive, seemingly intelligent movement contributes to a pervasive feeling of being watched, as though the spirits of former inhabitants are still tending to their daily routines. Doors opening and closing on their own are another frequent occurrence. Guests have reported entering classrooms, dormitories, or administrative offices only to find doors ajar that were securely closed moments before. In some instances, doors slam shut with startling force, echoing through the empty halls. These unexplained movements of physical objects create a tangible sense of presence, reinforcing the idea that the campus is more than just an abandoned space, is a location where the energy of the past continues to interact with the present. Staff and security personnel, when the campus was still occasionally open for tours or events, noted that these incidents often happened in specific areas, suggesting that some rooms or hallways might be focal points for lingering activity. One of the more unsettling aspects of Marylhurst's paranormal reputation is the sound of chanting. Visitors and paranormal investigators alike have reported hearing low melodic chants drifting through hallways or originating from rooms that are clearly empty. The chanting is often described as ethereal, carrying a solemn tone that evokes the campus's religious roots. Some claim to hear multiple voices, suggesting that the sound may represent a group of former nuns or students continuing their devotions beyond the physical plane. This auditory phenomenon is especially pronounced in the chapel and nearby classrooms, where the acoustics amplify the effect, making the experience immersive and unnerving. Shadowy figures are also a common report. Witnesses describe fleeting silhouettes moving at the edges of their vision, sometimes appearing near windows, stairwells, or along hallways. These figures often resemble individuals dressed in period clothing, long habits, or formal attire, hinting at the campus's past as a convent and later as a college. The figures are rarely fully visible and vanish when directly observed, leaving only the impression that the space is not entirely empty. The combination of visual and auditory phenomena has led many to conclude that the spirits at Marylhurst are connected to the lives once lived there, carrying forward the emotions, routines, and devotions of the past into the present. Temperature anomalies are another feature often reported by visitors. Sudden drops in temperature occur without warning, creating cold spots that are felt even in the middle of warm days. These chills are commonly experienced in hallways, stairwells, and near old classrooms or dormitories. Witnesses frequently describe the sensation as more than mere cold, ere it carries an almost physical weight, as if a presence is brushing against them. Some report goosebumps, hair standing on end, or the unmistakable feeling of being followed, which heightens the sense of unease during nighttime visits or private explorations. Paranormal investigators have attempted to document Merehurst's activity with various tools, capturing both audio and visual anomalies. Shadow figures sometimes appear in photographs where no one was present. In electronic voice phenomena, EVP recordings often pick up whispers, faint chants, or disembodied footsteps. Investigators suggest that the combination of the campus's long history, its religious significance, and the emotional energy generated over decades of study, devotion, and daily life may have left a lasting imprint, allowing these phenomena to persist long after the last students and nuns departed. Personal encounters vary in intensity. Some visitors report only subtle sensations, a whisper in a quiet hallway, a sudden chill, or the faint creak of a floorboard. Others experience more dramatic events, such as seeing a figure vanish in front of their eyes or hearing sustained chanting that seems to surround them. These encounters leave a lasting impression, often compelling individuals to revisit the campus or share their stories with others who are intrigued by the intersection of history and the supernatural. Merehurst University, despite its closure, continues to captivate those interested in the paranormal. Its combination of historic architecture, religious history, and long-standing reports of ghostly activity make it a unique site where the past and present intermingle. From footsteps echoing in deserted hallways to ghostly chanting and moving doors, the campus is alive with residual energy, reminding visitors that history does not simply vanish when buildings are abandoned. Instead, it lingers, waiting to be felt, heard, and sometimes even seen by those brave enough to walk the quiet halls and open themselves to the spirits that remain. Ultimately, Merehurst University is more than an abandoned campus. It is a repository of memories, devotion, and unresolved presence. The spirits that inhabit its halls are reminders of lives once lived within these walls, echoing through empty classrooms, stairwells, and courtyards. Visitors who explore Merehurst do not simply step onto a historic campus. They step into a space where the past continues to exist, where unseen voices, shadowy figures, and the weight of history converge to create an experience both haunting and unforgettable. Fort Clatsop, near Astoria, Oregon, is a place steeped in history and haunted by the echoes of the past. Originally constructed as the winter encampment for the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1805, the fort was a hub of activity, with explorers enduring harsh weather, isolation, and the constant demands of survival. Though the fort was only used for a single winter, its history is deeply intertwined with human struggle, perseverance, and loss. Today, visitors to the reconstructed site report unusual occurrences that suggest the lingering presence of those who once occupied the area, making Fort Clatsop a place where history and the supernatural converge. Walking through the fort and its surrounding grounds, many visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures moving through the barracks or along the riverbanks. These apparitions often appear dressed in period clothing reminiscent of early 19th century explorers, with long coats, hats, and rudimentary gear. Witnesses frequently describe the figures as moving with purpose, as though they are going about the daily routines of the expedition. Yet, when approached, these forms vanish, leaving only a lingering sense that the past is observing the present. Some speculate that these manifestations are the residual energy of the men who endured the harsh conditions of the winter encampment. Trapped in a loop of their historical routines, auditory phenomena are particularly common at Fort Clatsop. Visitors frequently report hearing ghostly voices echoing from the barracks or drifting across the nearby river. These sounds range from muffled conversations to full sentences, often in tones that suggest urgency or concern. Many have reported hearing commands or calls to attention, similar to what might have been shouted during the daily operations of the fort. On some occasions, the voices appear to interact with visitors, seeming to respond to questions or movement, creating a disorienting experience for those exploring the site. The fort's riverbanks, especially near the Columbia River, are hotspots for paranormal activity. People have described the sensation of being watched as they walk along the shore, and some claim to have seen ghostly figures moving silently through the trees or along the water's edge. The sounds of paddling or footsteps on the riverbank, sometimes accompanied by whispered voices, are often reported when no one else is present. This eerie combination of visual and auditory anomalies creates a feeling that the expedition is still present in some form, continuing its journey long after the men have passed from the physical world. Temperature fluctuations are another notable aspect of the haunting at Fort Clatsop. Visitors often feel sudden drops in temperature near the barracks, inside the fort, or along the river, even on warm days. These cold spots are accompanied by a sense of heaviness or unease, as if the environment itself carries the emotional weight of the past. Many report shivers and goosebumps, while others describe the sensation of unseen hands brushing against their skin or the feeling of being followed by an invisible presence. Such experiences reinforce the idea that the fort is more than a historical reconstruction. It is a conduit for lingering energy from its original inhabitants. Shadowy figures, often described as tall and indistinct, have been seen moving along the interior walkways of the fort or among the timbered barracks. Witnesses sometimes catch glimpses of faces or outlines in peripheral vision, only to find nothing when they turn to look directly. Some claim to have seen figures carrying tools, weapons, or provisions, reenacting tasks that would have been part of daily life during the expedition. The apparitions are often fleeting, appearing for only a few moments before dissolving into the air. But their presence is enough to unsettle even the most skeptical visitors. Paranormal investigators who have visited Fort Clatsop report similar phenomena, documenting ghostly voices, shadow figures, and unexplained sounds on audio and video recordings. Electronic voice phenomena, AVP, often capture faint commands, whispers, or calls that are not audible to the human ear at the time. Video footage sometimes shows unexplained shadows or movements in areas where no one was present. Investigators speculate that the combination of intense human activity, emotional energy, and the harshness of the original winter encampment may have created an environment conducive to lingering spirits. Personal experiences vary widely. Some visitors report only subtle sensations, a faint whisper, a chill in the air, or the feeling of a gaze upon them, while others experience more dramatic encounters, such as seeing full-bodied apparitions or hearing sustained conversations in empty rooms. Many people leave the site with an overwhelming sense of awe, both at the historical significance of Fort Clatsop and at the palpable presence of the past that seems to permeate every corner of the fort and its surrounding landscape. Even today, Fort Clatsop's haunting seems to be tied to its history of endurance and hardship. The men of the Lewis and Clark expedition faced bitter cold, isolation, and the constant threat of illness. Their struggles, combined with the emotional intensity of survival, may have left an indelible mark on the area, one that manifests as shadowy figures, whispered voices, and cold spots for those who walk the same grounds. Visitors are reminded that history is not always silent. In places like Fort Clatsop, the past lingers in ways both subtle and striking, merging with the present to create experiences that are at once educational, unsettling, and profoundly human. Ultimately, Fort Clatsop is more than a reconstructed historical site. It is a place where the echoes of human perseverance, fear, and routine continue to resonate. The shadowy figures, ghostly voices, and chilling sensations are a reminder that the lives of the explorers who wintered here have left a permanent imprint. For those who walk its halls and riverbanks, Fort Clatsop offers not only a glimpse into the past, but also an encounter with the unseen, a haunting journey through history that is impossible to forget. The old Portland Armory, perched in the heart of Portland, Oregon, is a building steeped in history and haunted by echoes of its past. Originally constructed in the early 20th century as a military facility, the armory served as a training ground for soldiers, hosting drills, parades, and strategic planning sessions. Over the decades, it witnessed the comings and goings of countless servicemen, each leaving a mark on the building's atmosphere. Since its closure and subsequent abandonment, the Armory has become a hotspot for paranormal activity, drawing visitors and investigators eager to experience its chilling phenomena firsthand. Walking through the massive, echoing halls of the old Portland Armory, visitors often report a sense of being watched. The long corridors, lined with decaying brick walls and rusting metal fixtures, seem to carry the weight of history. Many have described hearing drill commands shouted across empty spaces, the cadence of a once disciplined regiment reverberating through abandoned rooms. These commands sometimes appear to come from multiple directions, as if soldiers are marching in formation throughout the building. Yet when people turn corners or move toward the sounds, the hallways remain empty. Shadowy figures are a recurring feature of the Armory's haunting. Witnesses frequently describe seeing the outlines of soldiers dressed in early 20th century uniforms, moving silently through the drill halls or along stairwells. These figures are often partial, visible only in the corners of one's vision, and vanish when directly observed. Some visitors claim to see figures practicing rifle drills, marching in place, or inspecting the Armory as if the space was still active. The combination of shadowy forms and the sense of presence creates an unsettling experience, making it clear that the Armory is more than a decaying structure. It is a vessel for the memories and energies of those who once served there. Cold spots are another hallmark of the old Portland Armory's paranormal activity. Sudden drops in temperature are reported throughout the building, often accompanied by a feeling of heaviness or unease. Visitors describe shivers that are not explained by the external weather, and some report the sensation of an unseen hand brushing against them or a presence lingering close by. These cold anomalies frequently occur in areas associated with intense activity during the building's military past, such as the drill halls, storage rooms, and the basement. Many theorize that these sensations are tied to residual energy left behind by the soldiers' disciplined routines, long hours of training, and the emotional stress of preparing for conflict. The Armory's upper levels, including former offices and observation areas, are also sites of frequent paranormal encounters. Visitors report hearing footsteps on wooden floors that have long since rotted, as well as voices conversing in hushed tones. Some even claim to hear the faint sound of boots clicking in unison, as if soldiers are still marching through the halls. In some cases, doors open and close without explanation, slamming shut with force, while other doors are observed to creak gently, moving on their own, as if being guided by invisible hands. The combination of auditory and physical phenomena contributes to an overwhelming sense that the Armory remains alive with unseen activity. Paranormal investigators who have explored the old Portland Armory consistently document unusual occurrences. Audio recordings frequently capture whispers, shouted commands, and the echo of footsteps where no living person is present. Video cameras sometimes pick up shadowy figures moving through empty corridors or unexplained flashes of light. Investigators suggest that the building's history, combined with the intensity of human activity over decades, has created an environment where residual energy manifests as visual, auditory, and physical phenomena. Some even speculate that the Armory's role in training soldiers for combat and the heightened emotions associated with military life have left a particularly strong imprint on the building. Personal encounters within the Armory vary in intensity. Some visitors report only subtle sensations, the feeling of being watched, a brief cold draft, or distant whispers. Others experience more dramatic events, such as seeing a full-bodied apparition of a soldier, hearing sustained drill commands, or feeling the presence of multiple entities following them through the halls. Many who explore the building describe a sense of stepping back in time, as though the boundary between the present and the Armory's active past has become thin. The combination of history and haunting creates a unique atmosphere, blending curiosity with fear and drawing people back to explore again and again. The exterior of the Armory contributes to the eerie feeling of the site. The imposing brick facade, barred windows, and rusting metal doors give it the appearance of a fortress, echoing the strict discipline that once governed its halls. Even from outside, visitors sometimes report hearing faint drill commands or spotting shadowy figures moving behind the broken windows. The building's isolation, combined with the visual and auditory elements, reinforces the sense that the armory is still inhabited by the spirits of those who trained, worked, and lived within its walls. Ultimately, the old Portland Armory is more than an abandoned military building. It is a repository of history, emotion, and lingering presence. Shadowy soldiers, disembodied voices, and chilling cold spots are constant reminders that the past is never truly gone. Visitors who walk its halls experience a connection to those who once occupied the space, encountering echoes of discipline, camaraderie, and tension that have persisted for over a century. For those drawn to the paranormal, the Armory offers a haunting journey into Portland's military history, where the unseen past and the present converge in a way that is both unsettling and unforgettable. Exploring the old Portland Armory is to step into a place where history and the supernatural collide. The drill commands that echo through empty halls, the shadowy figures glimpsed in the corner of one's eye, and the chilling cold spots all serve as a testament to the intensity of life that once filled the building. Visitors leave with the sense that the Armory, though abandoned, is far from empty. Its spirits remain, marching, watching, and echoing the legacy of a bygone era for anyone brave enough to enter. The Columbia River Highway, winding through the breathtaking Columbia River Gorge in Oregon, is celebrated for its stunning views of cliffs, waterfalls, and dense forests. Yet, behind its scenic beauty lies a history of tragedy and unexplained phenomena, earning it a reputation as one of the region's most haunted roads. Travelers, hikers, and locals have long whispered about the eerie experiences that occur along this iconic route, where the boundary between the living and the supernatural seems especially thin. The highway, completed in the early 20th century, was considered an engineering marvel, but the construction was fraught with danger. Workers faced steep cliffs, heavy machinery, and unstable terrain, and many lost their lives during its development. Over the decades, countless travelers have also met untimely deaths along the route. From car accidents to falls near the cliffs, the accumulation of these tragic events is believed to have left a residual energy. And today, visitors report sensations and sightings that are difficult to explain. One of the most common reports involves ghostly apparitions appearing along the highway. Drivers have described seeing figures suddenly materialize on the road or along the shoulders, often dressed in early 20th century clothing. These figures sometimes appear to signal for help, walk as if traveling somewhere urgent, or simply stand silently watching. In many cases, when approached or observed closely, the apparitions vanish without a trace, leaving witnesses startled and uneasy. Hikers on the surrounding trails have reported similar encounters, seeing fleeting shadows move between trees, or glimpsing figures perched on the edge of cliffs, only to disappear when looked at directly. Mist and fog are frequent companions of the hauntings along the highway. Travelers often describe sudden, localized fog that appears without warning, reducing visibility and creating an otherworldly atmosphere. Within these misty patches, the feeling of being watched intensifies, and some hikers report hearing whispers or distant cries that vanish when they try to locate the source. The fog seems to act as a veil between the present and the past, a medium through which the spirits of the deceased may manifest. Some witnesses claim that the mists carried the sounds of footsteps, conversations, or even the faint echo of vehicles that vanished long ago. The sense of being watched is another hallmark of the Columbia River Highway's haunting. Visitors frequently report feelings of unease while hiking or driving, as if unseen eyes are tracking their movements. This sensation often comes without any visual cue, intensifying the fear and anxiety experienced along the gorge. In some instances, travelers have described the sensation of being followed for miles, with no visible person in sight. The combination of natural isolation, dramatic cliffs, and dense forests amplifies the effect, making even the most rational observers question whether they are alone. Accident sites and areas known for historical tragedies are particularly active. Locations where cars have gone over cliffs or hikers have fallen are reported to have more frequent paranormal activity. Visitors have described sudden drops in temperature, the feeling of a presence behind them, or fleeting glimpses of figures standing near the edge. Some claim to hear voices calling out names, often echoing through the trees and cliffs, while others describe seeing ghostly vehicles that vanish as they approach. These experiences suggest that the tragic history of the highway continues to leave an imprint on the landscape. Paranormal investigators have explored various points along the Columbia River Highway, documenting audio and visual anomalies. Electronic voice phenomena, AVP, often capture faint whispers, pleas for help, or indistinct conversations that are not audible to those present at the time. Cameras sometimes record shadowy forms moving across cliffs or appearing along narrow roads. Many investigators attribute these phenomena to residual energy from the countless accidents, deaths, and intense emotions experienced along the gorge over more than a century. Some suggest that the dramatic natural environment, combined with the tragic human history, has created a hotspot for lingering spirits. Individual experiences along the highway vary in intensity. Some travelers report subtle sensations, such as the feeling of a presence nearby or a chill passing through their bodies. Others have encountered more dramatic phenomena, like seeing a fully formed apparition step onto the road or hearing the faint sound of an old vehicle approaching and disappearing into the fog. Hikers often describe the sensation of unseen hands brushing past them, or hearing footsteps echoing behind them on trails that were otherwise empty. These experiences create an unsettling tension where beauty and danger intertwine in a way that is both mesmerizing and terrifying. The Columbia River Highway is more than just a scenic route. It is a corridor where history, nature, and the supernatural intersect. The cliffs and waterfalls that attract visitors also hold the weight of past tragedies, from construction accidents to fatal falls and vehicular crashes. The lingering spirits of those who met untimely ends seem to inhabit the spaces where life and death once collided, leaving an imprint that continues to affect anyone who travels the road. Travelers are reminded that, beneath the breathtaking vistas and serene waters, there exists a hidden world of spectral activity and residual energy. Visiting the Columbia River Highway is to experience a unique blend of awe and apprehension. The sudden mists, shadowy figures, whispers, and feelings of being watched all contribute to an atmosphere where the past feels vividly present. Hikers and drivers alike are drawn to the gorge for its natural beauty. Yet they cannot escape the sense that they are sharing the space with those who came before them, souls who continue to wander the cliffs, trails, and roads of the Columbia River Highway, leaving behind a haunting legacy that lingers in the mist, echoes through the cliffs, and watches silently from the shadows. The Wallowa Lake Hotel, nestled in the scenic town of Joseph, Oregon, is renowned for its picturesque views of the surrounding mountains and the tranquil lake below. Yet, behind its stately facade and charming exterior lies a darker story, one whispered among locals, visitors, and paranormal enthusiasts. Over the years, the hotel has developed a reputation as one of the most haunted locations in the region, with countless reports of unexplained activity that continue to intrigue and terrify those who step inside. Guests and staff alike have reported shadowy figures moving through the hotel's corridors and rooms. Often, these figures are glimpsed in the corner of one's eye, only to vanish when directly looked at. Some witnesses describe them as indistinct human silhouettes, sometimes appearing to wear early 20th century attire, moving silently from room to room. These apparitions often evoke a chilling sense of unease, as though the hotel itself is still inhabited by the spirits of those who once walked its halls. Phantom footsteps are among the most common phenomena reported at the Wallowa Lake Hotel. Visitors frequently hear the sound of shoes tapping against wooden floors in hallways long after the last guest has gone to bed. The footsteps often echo unnaturally, as though they belong to someone moving quickly or pacing with purpose. Some guests have followed the sounds only to find the hallways empty, the atmosphere thick with an unexplained tension. In certain rooms, the footsteps begin at one end and gradually move closer to the bed, stopping abruptly, leaving an unsettling silence in their wake. Mysterious sounds also plague the hotel's corridors and rooms. Doors creak open and shut on their own, sometimes slamming with enough force to startle even the most seasoned visitor. Guests report hearing faint whispers, murmurs, and even full sentences that vanish before they can be comprehended. Furniture occasionally moves without explanation. Chairs are found displaced, and in some cases, objects fall to the ground as if nudged by unseen hands. The repetition of these events over decades suggests that the activity is not random, but a persistent presence that refuses to be ignored. Certain areas of the Wallowa Lake Hotel are particularly active. The upper floors, where guest rooms provide breathtaking views of the lake, seem to attract the most paranormal activity. Some rooms are consistently reported as haunted, with multiple visitors experiencing cold spots, sudden drops in temperature, or the sensation of being watched. Guests have also reported hearing piano music in the dead of night. Though no instrument is being played, the melodic strains float through the halls, adding an eerie soundtrack to the hotel's spectral reputation. The hotel's basement and service areas, once bustling with staff and storage, are also hotspots for unexplained phenomena. Shadowy figures are seen moving among the storage rooms and stairwells, often accompanied by the unmistakable sounds of footsteps, whispers, and the occasional bang of a dropped object. Some paranormal investigators suggest that these areas hold strong residual energy, amplified by decades of activity and the emotional intensity of the hotel's history. Others believe that these spirits are drawn to the presence of visitors, manifesting in ways that are tangible enough to be experienced physically and audibly. Stories from staff members provide some of the most compelling accounts of hauntings. Housekeepers often report items, shifting locations, bed sheets being pulled from rooms that are supposedly empty, and unexplained cold drafts moving through hallways. Nighttime security personnel describe sudden, inexplicable power fluctuations and the feeling of a presence closely following them while making their rounds. Many staff members admit to avoiding certain areas of the hotel at night, fearing that they might encounter the entities that seem to roam freely when the building is quiet. Visitors, too, have had chilling encounters. Tourists often describe waking to the sensation of a hand brushing against them or a shadow standing at the foot of their bed. Some report hearing their names whispered softly in empty rooms, compelling them to look around, only to find nothing. Cameras and recording devices occasionally capture anomalies, flickering lights, misty figures, or movements that cannot be explained by natural causes. These accounts reinforce the hotel's reputation as a site where the past refuses to remain buried, and the living interact with the echoes of those long gone. The Wallowa Lake Hotel's blend of historic elegance and haunting presence creates a unique atmosphere. The beauty of the lake and surrounding mountains contrasts sharply with the unsettling experiences reported inside. Guests are drawn to its charm, yet many leave with stories of cold drafts, shadowy figures, and unexplained sounds that linger in memory long after their visit. Paranormal investigators continue to explore the hotel, documenting activity with cameras, audio equipment, and personal observations, adding to the growing lore of the site. Ultimately, the Wallowa Lake Hotel stands as a testament to the intersection of history, tragedy, and the supernatural. Its stately rooms and elegant halls conceal lingering spirits, shadowy figures, and unexplained phenomena that continue to intrigue and terrify those who enter. The footsteps in empty corridors, whispers in abandoned rooms, and sudden chills in the night all serve as reminders that, in this hotel, the past is never truly gone. Visitors leave with more than memories of scenic views. They carry a story of a place where the veil between the living and the dead remains thin, and the spirits of the Wallowa Lake Hotel continue to wander, waiting for the next guest to witness their presence. Oregon is a land of breathtaking landscapes, but its beauty hides a darker, more mysterious side. These 25 haunted locations, From abandoned hospitals and historic mansions to misty forests and old lighthouses, are reminders that the past never truly disappears. For those brave enough to explore them, the experience is thrilling yet terrifying, offering a glimpse into the lingering spirits and unresolved tragedies that continue to haunt the state. Whether it's a fleeting shadow, a chilling scream, or a sudden cold spot, Oregon's haunted places are a testament to the eerie, unexplained mysteries that dwell in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. If you ever find yourself near these sites, remember, some doors are meant to stay closed, and some spirits are better left undisturbed. Venture wisely, and let the tales of Oregon's haunted history chill you to the bone.